How is everyone doing tonight? I think we should be live. It is going to be a fun night. I'm very excited myself. See myself going live now on the other screen. I'm prepared. Let me know in the chat. I know it's a Thursday. Thirsty Thursdays, I think they call it. I'm working nights now, so I have to get up early tomorrow with the kids. But I'll just be hanging out with the kids. Rainy day where I'm at. Gonna be watching some movies, hanging out inside. I'll be fine to go late tonight. I'll be fine to have a couple beverages tonight. I myself opted for Sloop juice bombs. Very, very solid. Any IPA. I also do have on the other screen, in case we need to consult. In case we need to consult the official documents, I have the Form 1040. And I have the Schedule C that you saw in the thumbnail alongside my Sloop Juice Bomb IPA. I had those ready to go. So I'm trying two things tonight. I lowered my bitrate for my stream because my last couple streams did not go that well. My last couple streams, I had massive drop frames. I dropped, I think my last stream, I dropped like 10% of my frames, which is just absurd, obscene. I've never had that many issues. I put a 5-second stream delay. I think that what will allow to happen is if my internet gets causing issues, it will just it will have 5 seconds to kind of recover, 5 seconds to catch up without any detriment to the actual stream itself. So I put on a 5-second stream delay, which I've never done. And I also lowered my bitrate a little bit further. I have DSL internet deep in the woods of upstate New York. So hopefully this will work. We'll see. Tonight I have the lights red. The lights are red to start. Anyone who's familiar with this channel, anyone who knows who I am, what I talk about, what I do, the red lights are for rants. So Dan is ready to rant if we need to, if we get there. Let's see how the chat goes. But yeah, feel free. I want to keep this. We go all over the place. We go lawnmowers, we go butchers, we go smoking meats and all kinds of good stuff. I'm not saying I don't like that, but I want to steer this as much as possible. I want to steer this to tax talk. Some people love it. Some people will hate it. I think one of the biggest things in the cardboard industry, one of the biggest things in the industry is poor tax planning, poor business structuring. I talked about it in my video Monday. My video Monday was like, these are 3 mistakes you're making, and this is how you fix them. It was avoiding fees. It was trying to avoid taxes. It was trying to, very, very common in our space is tax evasion. On this channel, I preach avoidance. Avoidance is good business. Evasion will put you in jail. I don't want to go to jail. I don't want anyone to sue me. I don't want to go to jail for what I say. What I recommend people do, my primary tax advice is pay them. Tax advice, listen to this. Tax advice, pay your taxes. Declare your income. But do it optimally. I will show you tonight, and my video Monday is going to be a PowerPoint presentation along with some Google Drive, Google Sheets. It will be some heavy calculations. It will be why I'm an S corporation and how much money I save compared to a sole proprietorship. And it'll be talking about paying your children. It'll be talking about paying your children as long as they materially contribute to the business. Again, not evading, avoiding. Nothing fraudulent, nothing of that nature. But yeah, if you have any tax questions whatsoever, I am not a CPA. I am not a tax professional, but I am a tax enthusiast. I will say I'm a tax and finance enthusiast. I'm dropping a ton of frames again. Actively, it's showing that I'm dropping a ton of frames. I don't know if I'm lagging like crazy. I apologize, but we'll see what happens here. I know PK was just live. I don't know if PK is still live, but he talked about PokeRev's thing. I'm not breaking a $200,000 box. I don't have an alternate camera angle. I don't have the need for it. I'm dropping frames like crazy still though. We'll see. We'll see how it goes, but hopefully it's coming through for people fine. The Ethernet cable is plugged in. Can we smash the like button for the red lights? I appreciate you, Retro. I'm gonna catch up on chat a little bit before I go like too far. But I do, if people don't have any questions to prompt me, kind of keep me reined in, keep me on the topics that you want. I have many topics ready to go. I have a browser tab open. Let me find the proper browser tab. That's not the one. Let me make sure I get the proper browser tab and I share the proper browser tab. Not that I have anything that I could accidentally show you that would be bad. I don't think I have any doxing things open. Okay, here we go. So here's my, I have a spreadsheet open that I'm working on. I've not finished my stuff for Monday, but in my spreadsheet, I will show you how I pull the statements from the selling platforms. I will show you how the S Corp saves me $10,000 every year. I will show you how accrual basis works versus cash basis. I will show you and answer whatever questions you can. And one thing that I will do, I will always give context. I will always give disclaimers. If I genuinely don't know something, I will tell you, this is what I believe. This is what I think. I am not a CPA. I'm not a tax attorney or anything like that. I consult with them. I actually pay a good hourly wage to tax attorneys and to accountants and to all kinds of professionals. And we might get into it. The lights are red. You don't just need to consult professionals. You need to find competent professionals. I am probably better, to be honest. Like, I'm probably better than the bottom 1 percentile. The bottom 0. Let's be safe. I'm better than the worst out of 1,000. If you have a room of 1,000 CPAs at random, I probably know more and am better with respect to reseller taxes than the worst CPA out of 1,000 pulled at random. Don't hire that guy. There is a bad ZNG Emporium James. He made a statement, a quote, a joke, whatever you want to call it, in Discord some time ago, and I'll never forget it. I think he said his dad had said it. It's not like he invented it, but he just said it, and it was the first I'd ever heard of it. He said, what do they call the guy who finishes last in med school? Doctor. The guy who graduates last. Obviously, some amount of people go to med school, they drop out, they don't graduate. But what do they call the guy who graduates last in his class at med school? Doctor. You don't want that doctor. I mean, most people make it through, but not all of them. CPAs, there are CPAs that probably should not be CPAs. So don't hire those ones. How do you verify that yours is not one of those? And you need to look over their shoulder. You need to look over their shoulder to some extent. You need to, the only person in your life that will always have you at the front of their mind, that will always have your best interest in mind, the only one is you. And obviously, if you have a marriage, good spouse, I mean, maybe you can get to where you have two, maybe you have kids, maybe you have parents, maybe you can have a handful of people that have your best interest in mind. But almost never will you find someone that will put you further ahead than you yourself. Like, you need to watch out for yourself. There will be people throughout your life that will try to take money from you, that will do things suboptimally, cut corners, and you don't want your CPA to do that. You do not want your accountant to do that. So yeah, I have a lot of tabs opened up. We'll see what we end up getting into. Let me catch up with chat a little bit right now. Stream looks like it has stabilized, so I hope it has. My dropped frames as of right now. How many minutes in am I? I'm 9 minutes in, and I've dropped 16% of my frames. So 1/6 of the time that I've been live, I've dropped those frames. I've dropped 1.5 minutes of frames apparently. But it's not like 1.5 minutes straight. Like PokeRev dropped 10 minutes straight or 5 minutes straight, whatever it was. I just dropped like, I think I'm 30 FPS. Maybe I can go like 15 FPS. It's not like I'm doing anything too drastic, not doing anything too crazy. If I was 15 FPS, maybe I wouldn't drop frames. I'll have to look into that further. I thought the stream delay might resolve that, but I don't think it has. Anyways, let's see what we got in chat. We got iFOMO here. We got Zard lurking. We got MB Pokemon ready for the official tax advice. We got Ray. We got Ponga. We got L-Dubs. Shadowless Red. Sup, fellow tax avoiders. We are. Oh, let me fix this on screen a little bit. we all strive to be the best tax avoiders we can be. Tax avoidance is good business. Tax evasion is criminal. Yeah. We're not evading. We are not talking about evading in here. Plenty of people do that, know how to do that. The thing is, and I'm not gonna go deep down this, but lights are red. A lot of people evade taxes in this space, but they do it so terribly. And I'm not gonna elaborate. I'm not gonna go further on that. Disclaimer: Dan is here at the ready for you. Basic's here to defend his name. Killing Cards is talking to a CPA, so we like that. Juice bombs are very solid. We got a Mountain Dew. I'm a big fan of Mountain Dews. I'm a big fan. I gotta play both sides. I gotta play Pepsi Cola with the Mountain Dew, and I gotta play Coca-Cola with the Coke. I'm trying to get one of them to sponsor the stream, but neither of them have yet. We'll see if we can we can sort that out. Let's see. So, got caught in a terrible hailstorm and it smashed my moonroof. I'm on my third IPA of the night. Rough night. Sorry for that, PK. Or, PK. Peak. Sorry for that, peak. Hello, I'm here to learn how to avoid tax totally illegally in the most effective ways that will reduce the change of getting caught. We're not going to discuss that tonight. We will definitely discuss. Honestly, if you are in this space and you are acting as a cash basis filer, I can show you the spreadsheet. We can get into it later. If someone... I get some people that complain. If Ernesto's in there, if Ernesto's in the chat yawning, if Ernesto's in the chat jumping at any point throughout the night, I blame you, Ernesto. This is like a choose your own adventure, and Ernesto chooses to fall asleep. Ernesto chooses to jump. You can ask the questions. You can guide where this chat goes tonight. I mean, Trow is doing... I will give it to Trow. He's doing his best trying to guide it down a very dark path. I will not go down that dark path. But done correctly, there are so many businesses in this space that pay almost zero taxes. There are people in this space growing their business twofold, fourfold, year over year, decade over like after decade. There are people that are growing their businesses massively, hardly paying anything. They are paying less than a minimum wage worker will pay because they are just taking, like, they didn't create the rules, but they're playing by them optimally. And there is so much room when you run your own business, when you run, whether it's a sole proprietorship or an S corporation, whether you're doing cash basis or accrual basis, there is so much room to almost set your income to what you want it to be and to pay what taxes you want to pay. Like, you can just set the number, especially cash basis. If we get into it later, if we pull out the spreadsheet, when you are a cash basis filer, you can just, you can determine how much you want to show that you made on paper, and you can make that number happen. It's crazy. It doesn't sound real, but it is real. I hope we get deeper down that as we go, but let's continue on. Red Light District, Gem Minute. Appreciate you hanging out here. Zach's here for the tax advice too. We got a Arizona half and half. We talking Arnold Palmer. Big fan of iced tea and lemonade. Trials come to the right place. Red Light plus IPAs. I went out, so the reason that I'm drinking on a Thursday night, I usually drink at Collecticons. I have some beverages, I hang out with people, talk some business, talk some tax maybe. Tonight I went out with a buddy. I went out for a wing night with a buddy. Normally I will only have like one and I'll have some wings, and I won't even have an IPA. I'll have something very light like a Utica Club. A local beer. We got Shelton Dooley above me, and because I got to drive. But his girlfriend came and my wife came, and we dropped the kids off at the in-laws. So I was actually able to have IPAs. I had IPAs all night along with my chicken wings. I had a handful of IPAs at the bar. I'm on my second juice bomb here. I've got another handful of IPAs down at my feet in a cooler. So I'm in for the long haul. I'm good to go. When the IPAs start flowing, things get a little bit more free. Talk gets a little bit more, we'll see how it goes. I see a bunch of stop signs, which I love. I just jumped to the bottom. I see a bunch of if you put the stop sign in front of your question, I will never miss it. Catch me if you can, Uncle Sam. Basic isn't scared. They don't want us to know. Yeah, like, the clickbait for this would be top 10 tricks the IRS does not want you to know. Maybe that will be the name for my video on Monday. We'll see. Appreciate you, Retro. The wrench in here, getting people to smash the like. Looking for advice on how to continue earning above taxable income bracket and not paying anything. That's the thing. Like when you take into account whether you're a single filer, whether you're married filing jointly, you take into account how much, like everyone in the country, like whether you're Elon Musk, whether you're Dan Ketchum All Collectibles, everyone pays the same amount of money on their first X amount of income. And it goes up from there. And the way, like being a business owner, you can actually being a cash basis filing business owner, you can actually control what you show for income. So if you're married filing jointly, like there is a strategy to filling up the buckets, filling up the certain tax brackets to the limit, and then putting in certain amounts into traditional IRAs, putting certain amounts into Roth IRAs. We can talk investing, we can talk taxes, wherever we want to go tonight. But let me continue on. Because you brought it up, how does the paying kids thing work? Can you pay them when they're like 6 years old? Don't they have to be like minimum 16 to work depending on state? So again, everything I say tonight, I am not a tax professional. I'm not a tax attorney. I'm not a CPA, but I have a 6-year-old. I live in the state of New York in the country of United States. I'm going to pull up, where I live, I'm governed by the IRS, irs.gov. It is a governmental website. Let me go to my 2cam. So on my 2cam, if we need them, I've got my Schedule C and I've got my 1040. But as of right now, let me leave that there. First thing we need, let me open up a new window capture. Let me show Chrome. And within Chrome, we are going to show... Where's Chrome? Here's Chrome. So Chrome's way too big. We got to put Chrome in the correct layer. So we need Chrome under the face cam. We need it under all this. I think Chrome's in the correct layer now. So here we go. So this is not me. This is not Dan talking. This is literally irs.gov/businesses. So Nest TCG asked, because you brought it up, how does the paying kids thing work? Can you pay them when they're like 6 years old? Don't they have to be like minimum 16 to work, depending on state? So if the business is a parent sole proprietorship or a partnership in which each partner is a parent of the child, payments for the services of a child are, let's see. Payments for the services of a child under 18 are not subject to FICA. So anyone who doesn't know what FICA is, I don't know what it stands for exactly, but Social Security and Medicare taxes. So if the child's under 18, and we'll get into this deeper. I believe it's the employer pays 7.8%. The employee pays 7.8%. So if you're a W-2 worker at your company, say you make $100,000 a year, you pay $7,800 a year in Social Security and Medicare taxes, and those come out of your pay. The employer does it as well. So as they pay you $100,000, they have to pay you $107,800 to pay the $7,800 of their side of the FICA taxes. If you have a child, say you have a child, and there are multiple things that need to happen here. You can't just on paper pay your kid. Your kid needs to materially participate in the business. Your kid needs to actually work. I do Pokemon cards. My kid, they open packs. They know how to sort stuff. They actually materially participate in the business. My son is turning 6 this year. My daughter's turning 4 later in the year. But we'll talk about standard deductions. So let me continue on down. If the business is a child sole proprietorship, income tax withholding is a thing, as it says. Income tax withholding is a thing, but they are FICA exempt. They are Social Security and Medicare exempt. So the 15.6% self-employment tax I pay, they do not pay. And as an individual, they have a standard deduction. So we actually have a sheet right here. Hopefully this is the right one. Hopefully it'll show the right way. I might need to move things around as I go, but I have a lot of stuff here. So I'm showing the wrong portion of this, I think. See, it'll take a minute to get everything set up, but so here are the marginal rates. So everyone on their first $11,000 of income pays 10%. Whether you're Dan, whether you're Elon Musk, whether you're Jeff Bezos, whoever you are, everyone pays $10,000 on their first $11,000, 10% on their first $11,000 of AGI, adjusted gross income. Adjusted gross income is calculated, a lot of modifiers. I'm going to keep it like really basic here, but AGI is calculated by taking your gross income and subtracting off the standard deduction. So if I employ my child and pay them through payroll, they have a $13,850 standard deduction. They can make up to $13,850 and pay zero. They can pay zero in taxes because whatever their income is, you subtract the standard deduction and that's what they get paid. So yeah, you can actually have situations, and let me go back full screen. You can actually have situations where you are paying a child. You have to be, you can't pay them $1,000 an hour. Like say I have a child who works 10 hours the whole year. I can't pay them $1,000 an hour. I need to pay them a reasonable wage. I need to, whether it's minimum wage, whether it's $15 an hour, whatever it is, it needs to be a reasonable wage for hours of work that they actually worked. And then what they can take with that payment, what they can take with that payroll, they can put that into a Roth IRA. No FICA taxes, no payroll taxes, no taxes of any kind. They put it into a Roth IRA. And in Roth IRAs, you can only take them out after 59 and a half years. You can only take them out once you retire, blah, blah, blah. But there are exemptions. There are specific situations where your first time home buy, maybe for college. Like there are ways that they can take that money out. So instead of saving like through a 529, one thing I'm doing currently, one thing I've been doing since my child's birth, I've been saving in a 529. So I save in a 529. I make, say I make 10 grand, like not, I don't make 10 grand for my whole year. That's all I make. But say I take 10 grand that I make. I pay payroll taxes on it. I pay federal income taxes on it. I pay state income taxes on it. And then my 10 grand that I made, the last 10 grand I made, it might turn into 6,500 after paying $3,500 between payroll taxes, between all that stuff, federal and state taxes. So from that 10 grand, pre-tax, I only am able to put 6,500 into my kids' 529. But if they're on the payroll, I can take 10 grand pre-tax. I don't pay any taxes on it whatsoever. The corporation doesn't pay any taxes on it whatsoever. As long as it's earned wages, they put it into the Roth IRA. 10 grand goes in as 10 grand. Whereas today, via 529, if I put 6,500 in, my pre-tax cost for that is 10 grand. So like the amount of benefits, the amount of compounding, like layered upon layers of saving taxes, you can do so much avoiding taxes legally. It's actually crazy. Let me continue on down. That was a good question. Hopefully I addressed that properly. But yeah, starting, depending on your accountant, depending on whether your child is, I talked with my accountant. I talked with the head accountant at my accounting firm. He said that he has people that he does accounting for, that he does their taxes. They have 2-year-olds on payroll, legitimately, legally. What I do, a 2-year-old cannot materially contribute to my business. A 6-year-old can, though. I am putting my son on payroll this year. When my daughter turns 6, she will go on payroll. A 6-year-old, not like I'm not going to pay them $100 an hour. I'm not going to pay them $10,000 a year, but I will pay them a reasonable hourly rate for the amount of hours that they work, and they will be on payroll. It's not like a firm age. A lot of people, so many things you will find. A lot of people convict me of being a fence sitter. A lot of things in taxes are not black or white. We live we live in the gray area, and taxes are so much gray area. It will blow people's minds, but taxes are so much gray area. Where one business can pay a 2-year-old on payroll because they can materially participate in the business. They can materially contribute. And to give specifics on, well, how could a 2-year-old contribute? They were like a photographer, and they actually, they photographed their 2-year-old, and they had like a modeling portfolio. And probably like if you open up a catalog of like, if you open up a catalog for a company that sells like toddler clothes, this kid might be in it. This kid might be in it that my accountant was talking about. So if you have a 2-year-old that is modeling for your photography agency and they have like a modeling portfolio, and you sell that to a company who buys that to advertise on their website. Like Carter's. My wife buys a ton of clothes for our kids at Carter's. If my kid was a model for Carter's, wearing some of their clothes, putting it on their website, I could pay them at 2 years old. I could pay them at 1 year old, right? Because that is income they're actually earning if they were a child actor. Being the business I do, it's a different, there's not a firm number. It's not like at 2 years old. If you have a pizzeria, if you have a photography company, like depending on what you do, whatever age your child can start materially contributing is the age that you can start paying them. This is all in New York. This is all what I've been told by my accountant. So take it all for what it is. PK Raid, number one mod in the game. Nice to see you, Drew. I'm definitely referencing this video when talking to my CPA. Rural New York stream, yawn. Hey, I'm actually live though. I'm live. We can engage. This is not just a premiere. No, my camera's set to 720. One thing I could do, I could start streaming in 480p. I don't know that it would hurt my viewership. I think my live viewership know what they are here for. They know what they are getting. 720 versus 480p. I don't think it would hurt a lot. But have you sold off any portion of your Sword and Shield sets that have risen, or are you full diamond hands? So, I mean, no secret. No, I talked about it. I sold off all my Evolving Skies before it hit like 200, or no, before it hit 300. I sold it on the way up. I sold some at 180, some at 200, some at 250, some at 300. I sold it on the way up thinking it would get reprinted. And now it's like 700. Well, it didn't. I made a video a few months back, 4 months back maybe, where I spent 100 grand. 100 grand was not spent on Pokemon alone. I spent like 40 grand, I believe, 40 or 50 grand on Modern Sealed. And I spent about 50 grand funding my IRAs and 401ks and stuff for the year. So I'm going to revisit that. At 6 months, I'm going to revisit that and just see like, here's the Evolving Skies that I bought then. So I've not sold any Sword and Shield in probably at least 6 or 8 months. I'm not entirely sure, but I'll have a video in the future to elaborate further on that. My CPA told me to come here for tax evasion 101. This is tax avoidance 101 through 501. We will cover at whatever level you want to cover. He used the stop sign, so I'm going to throw it on screen, but I'm here for tax conversations. Appreciate you being here, though, Domescan Hipster. Agree on the average CPA thing. So Dan is stating that he's definitely better than some CPAs. Like, I will unequivocally state that I know more than the worst out of... Like, I don't know how many CPAs are in the United States. Let's see how many CPAs are in the... How many CPAs in the US? There are 1.4 million CPAs in the United States. 1.4 million. I can confidently say that I am not the CPA, but I know more about reseller taxes. I know more about S corporations when it comes to eBay businesses than the single worst CPA out of all 1.4 million. I will tell you that much. Don't hire that guy. Don't hire that guy. Because there are bad CPAs out there. There are bad chemical engineers. There are bad eBay resellers. There are bad businesses of every kind. Don't just hire a professional. Hire a good one. Hire a good one. Competent one. Roth IRAs are very, very solid, but I have a mix of Roth and traditional. Roth are good for when your income... Let me go back to what I had a second ago. Let me make sure I get the right screen pulled up. So, in a year where your income is higher, like I am married filing jointly. I have a sugar mama. We've talked about that before. In a year where I might make 500 grand. Like I've never made 500 grand a year in my life. I probably never will. But say there was a year that I made 500 grand. My last dollar, my first 22 grand, my first 27.7 grand is exempt due to the standard deduction. My next 22 grand is paid at 10%. My next 79 grand is paid at 12%. But my last dollar, I'm charged 32%. If I put money into a traditional IRA, dollar for dollar, like if I put 10 grand into a traditional IRA, I save $3,200. Whereas if I put into a Roth IRA, instead of putting in 10 grand, I only put in 6,800 because I pay Roth IRA is post-tax, traditional IRA is pre-tax. So if I put into a traditional, I can put in 10 grand, or I can pay taxes on that 10 grand and put in 6,800 into the Roth IRA. So in a year that I made $500,000, which I probably never will, I would opt for traditional. in a year where my wife had a child, and she took maternity leave, unpaid maternity leave for a year, and I was a chemical engineer making 75, 80 grand, and where our household income was sub 90 grand. Well, it's 90 grand plus 27.7. And this is for 2023. The year that happened was like 2020, 2018. But anyways, if you take 89 grand plus 27.7, you can make almost $125,000, $130,000 married filing jointly. You're only paying 12% on your last dollar. So if you're in that circumstance, to me, it's Roth all the way. It's Roth all the way when you're making like so little. But if you're in one of these higher brackets and later in life, you might be in a lower bracket when you're in retirement, when you're withdrawing from your IRA and 401k, and when you're getting Social Security. If you're withdrawing less later in life, you might be better to go traditional, and then on the back end go do Roth conversions and all that stuff. And we won't get too deep on that. But let's go back here and let's go back to chat. My old guy had no idea about the online sales 2 years ago, and I had to go with someone new, rough in a small town, and you have to know a lot yourself going in. Absolutely. You have to, like, when I say consult with a professional, if you call up a CPA, a lot of people don't even know what questions to ask them. You will be paying $100 an hour, $200, $400 an hour, whatever your hourly rate is where you are. You don't want to pay someone $100 an hour and ask bad questions. I actually do consults. I do consults at $100 an hour. I've had some people come in with great questions and they got great value for their hour. And I've had some people come in that didn't even know what questions to ask, and I did my best to guide them. And there are people that paid me $100 for an hour of my time, and they got a lot less value because they didn't even know what questions to ask. I did my best to guide them into, like, you should ask this, and here's the answer, and this and that. But everyone's situation is different. Everyone is playing a different game with different rules in the same arena, as I always say. If you were to hide money from the IRS, what's the best way would you do so? I would never do such a thing. But there's certain things that the IRS could never see. There's certain things that they have no access to. If money is digital and flowing in and out of accounts, even a lot of people, I will say, a lot of people in this space take PayPal friends and family, and then they don't claim it. Do not do that. That is illegal. You need to claim your PayPal friends and family. That's digital money. If you put it into your bank account, they can see that. Will it ever be caught? Will they ever audit you? Maybe not. But they can't see cash at Collecticon. They can't see cash. I'm not advocating for anything. I'm not saying anything. But like whether you get 10 grand in cash at a convention or whether you get 5 grand in cash at a convention, they have no way of verifying that. They have no way of finding that in an audit. That's what I'll say. I'm answering all the questions tonight, so hit me with all the questions. What ratio do you use for Roth/traditional retirement accounts? I'm using both so that I can withdraw from both when retired to lower my income tax, but searching for the optimal ratio. There's no such thing as a universal optimal ratio. So one thing that I do, again, as I just showed a minute ago, if my income is artificially low due to my wife being on maternity leave, I tend towards Roth. If my income is artificially high due to a 2020, 2021 Pokemon bubble, I opt towards traditional. But say when you retire, say you're going to retire at 60. If you're going to buy like an RV and go cruise the country, if you're going to have one big massive expense, like say you know the day you retire, you're going to buy a house, buy an RV, buy a vacation house, whatever. If you know that you're going to need 500 grand all at once to pay cash on something, if you take that out of a traditional account, that's all taxable income for that year. So if you know you need a lump sum at retirement, save some amount Roth. Because say you retire with a Roth account with $1 million and a traditional account with $1 million. You can withdraw the account, Roth, $1 million day one of your retirement. You can withdraw $1 million and pay zero tax. Buy that RV, go on that round the world trip, buy that sports car, buy whatever it is, do it with your Roth money. All taxes paid beforehand, no taxes due. If you take that out of a traditional account, now you have $1 million taxable income, $500,000 taxable income for that year, and you're up here. You're paying 10% on the first 22 grand, exempt on the first amount. You're gonna tie it in with Social Security, but your last 500 grand, you're paying 35%. So if you know you need a lump sum at retirement, do that amount Roth. If you know at retirement, obviously we never know when we're going to die. Say I plan to retire at 60 and I hope to live to 80. If I know I'm going to take out $1 million, and this is like disregarding what my amount grows into and blah, 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 investment returns. If I know I'm going to take out 50 grand a year for 20 years, traditional is the way to go, because in retirement, I am able to draw 50 grand a year. And say I was earning 200 grand a year, putting that money away, saving 22%, going traditional, and now I'm withdrawing it at 50 grand a year. I'm only paying 10% when I save 22% on the front end. So there is no universal answer. There is no optimal ratio. It is so dependent on who you are, what you're going to do, what you earn now, what you will earn in retirement. Are you going to have eBay on the side in retirement? Like, it's an impossible thing. And honestly, like, have some blend of both. If you know that you're going to have a lump sum, lean more Roth. Like, try to make sure you get at least what you need for Roth for that lump sum, retirement home, sports car, whatever it is. So tax planning, tax avoidance, optimal tax avoidance goes so deep. I am a former chemical engineer. I am a personal finance junkie. I am a math junkie. I love numbers. I love spreadsheets. Taxes, they are so fit for everything I love. Like, there's so much to them. That's why I love this stuff. I love this stuff. So many people evade taxes so poorly. I'm not going to elaborate on that. Cash basis, you should only be getting taxed on what you are really pulling out of the business, if I understand correctly. Shout out Brian, Pokeyenne. Pokeyenne, if you're watching this, let me know in the comments below if you're watching this later. If you're here live, come out and chat, say hi. Pokeyenne caught some flack. He caught some flack like maybe 2 years ago. One of the first things I saw of Brian, he made a video talking about cash basis tax filing. He talked about, say you're in a given year and you've made like 100 grand on paper on December 15th. Between December 15th and December 31st, if you spent all the money you made and you bought new inventory, cash basis filing, you write the inventory off as you buy it. There are many requirements that you need to have for your business to be able to write off inventory as you buy it. I'm not going to get into, and I don't even know all the things. I am accrual basis. So in accrual basis inventory, accrual basis business, you only write off inventory in the year that you buy it. So say I made 100 grand for the year on December 30th. And on December 31st, I spend 100 grand on a purchase. I don't get to write that off yet because I didn't sell it. So I still made 100 grand when it comes time to file my taxes. But cash basis, if you spend all the money you made, if your account is the same amount that you started at for the year, you owe nothing in taxes. That's why there's so many businesses that go out and buy a brand new truck before the end of the year. They go buy a brand new lawnmower. They go buy a brand new, go buy a big collection, buy a ton of inventory. If you're cash filing, and if you are able to, through the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, less than 26 million in gross sales, blah, 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 yada, yada, all the things you need to, all the check boxes you need to make it through. If you're legally able to file as cash basis, it can be so great for you. You can literally control how much money you spend in taxes by just like pre-doing your taxes mid-month in December and then figuring out exactly where you want to be and maybe buy more, maybe sell more to get that number where you want it to be. You can look at this. You can say like, I want to make as a household, I want to make exactly $89,450 plus $27,700. I want to get my last dollar to be in that 12% bracket. I don't want to pay a penny into the 22% bracket. You can do that with cash basis filing. It's actually insane. People jumped out at him. People in the comments that had no idea what they were talking about. And honestly, like 80 to 90% know what I'm talking about. Like, I know that's broadly how it works, but there's a lot of disclaimers. There's a lot of things you need to have, precursors to being able to file cash basis. One of them being less than 25 million, 26 million in gross sales, which I think all of us here do that. But Brian got attacked for that, and he was right. The people that were attacking him were ignorant, dumb, whatever you want to call them. They have no idea how taxes work. I consult with professionals. I do things optimally for me. Brian consults with professionals. They do things optimally for him. TikTok trolls, YouTube trolls, wherever they were coming from, they have no idea what they're doing. They're probably evading taxes, not avoiding taxes, and doing things so optimally. It's crazy. We got we got Spicy Boys TV himself in here. uh I'm 30 minutes behind in chat, and people are already saying, Brad is already saying I'm saying way too much. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to tonight. Let's see. he's telling Ernesto to rewind 3 minutes. Rewind. Well, at this point you got to rewind 45 minutes, but this is gonna be a good one. I am feeling good. I'm definitely buzzing. I'm not like drunk. I'm not like gonna black this out. I am fully here, but I'm a little bit more loose-lipped. Ready to answer whatever you got. I'm dropping a couple frames again. I apologize for that, but Dan trying to instigate a hobby-wide tax fraud investigation. No, my number one piece of tax advice is pay your taxes. Like, please pay your taxes. But if you are able to, like, minimize through whatever means. If you have a child that participates in your business, pay them. Have them fund a Roth IRA. If you have a business that you use for, or if you have a car that you use for business, if you have a computer you use for business, if you have a phone plan you use for business, if you have a house of which some square footage amount you use for business only, write it off. Business use of home. There are requirements for all these. You can't just make up numbers. You can't manufacture things. But, like, talk to an accountant. Find every deduction you can. A deduction doesn't, like, magically make you money. But let's go back here. Say in a year I make $89,450. Well, say I make $100,000. Say I make $100,000. My first $89,450, and we're talking after the standard deduction. My first $89,450 is going to be taxed at, well, first $22,000 at 10. Next $79,450 is taxed at $77,450 is taxed at 12%. My last $10,550 is taxed at 22%. So if I go to an accountant and I file, and they're like, oh, well, you didn't give me any bills for gas. You didn't give me any bills for your mileage. Oh, yeah, I actually go to the post office every day. I go to the post office every day, and twice a week I go to UPS. And I went to Syracuse to fly to a convention 4 times last year. And then, oh, well, how many miles was that? You do the math on it, go into Google Maps. You're supposed to keep like a register. You're supposed to keep a log of all your miles. But if you do like every day, every week, I mean, you just take the number of days and multiply by how many miles it is. So, oh, well, and I don't know what the standard mileage rate is, but every year the IRS puts out a mileage rate that you can claim. So say you had $5,000 worth of miles. Like, you did that regardless. Like, you did that. You're actually able to claim that. So a deduction doesn't mean that you like get that stuff for free, but it means that you don't pay 22% taxes. So say you make $100,000 after your standard deduction. A $10,000 write-off saves you $2,200. People, like, it's so crazy. It's so sad, really. What it is sad. People think like a write-off. I used to work at a company. We used to have a segment of our company that was like non-profitable. It doesn't make sense. Think of a company, a car dealership, giving away the floor mats every time they sold a car. So I worked for one product line that was the floor mats. We lost money eternally on the floor mats. But the reason we gave the floor mats away for free was because our customers were buying cars. Our customers were buying cars. But the way they looked at it is like, oh no, our product line is a tax write-off, so they make money because it's a tax write-off. It's like, no, the business case for why our product line existed was because they're selling cars because of they're selling cars and they're just giving away the car mats. Who cares? You're making $5,000 on the car, you're giving away the $100 car mats. So it doesn't matter. But a lot of people will think like a tax write-off is, oh no, let me spend $5,000 because it's a tax write-off and it doesn't cost me anything. Tax write-offs are subsidized, essentially. Say your last $10,000, 22%. If you're able to find $10,000 worth of write-offs, well, now you've basically saved $7,800. Like you don't pay that $2,200 in taxes is what it works out to, right? So people are very, very just ignorant and inexperienced and not knowing how taxes work in a lot of ways. I'm gonna go grab an IPA and drop off my orders in the USPS drop box. I can feel it right now. I'm kind of like being a little vocal. I'm having IPAs, a little bit dehydrated. I know why I lose my voice at a lot of Collecticons. I feel like my voice might be a little bit limited tomorrow, but I'm here for it tonight. Headed out for a night with the boys. Might get a little crazy and talk some tax. More tax, just what I wanted after a 15-hour workday the day before a deadline. Yeah, I haven't heard from my accountant. So I sent my accountant stuff last year. I sent my accountant stuff on February 15th because I'm an S corporation. For an S corporation, your stuff is due on March 15th is the corporate tax filing deadline. I sent my stuff last year on February 15th, and around like March 5th or so, they hit me up for some additional information, and I gave it to them, and then they filed it on March 15th. I sent my accountant stuff on February 15th, and I haven't heard a peep from them. I'm a little nervous, but what I did was I gave them everything I gave them last year on February 15th, plus what they came back to me on March 5th for last year. I gave them all that too. So like, I gave them a certain amount. They needed more. I gave them what they needed and then what they had additionally requested last year. So it should be everything. There's no reason, like nothing additional happened last year. There should be no special cases for my last year, but hopefully they have everything. Continuing on down through chat. Dan, how much dollar super chat do you need to shotgun an IPA? I did not have milk with my chicken wings. I had IPAs with my chicken wings. My wife was driving, so I had IPAs. I think YouTube actually like explicitly disallows people donating money or gifting money for alcohol consumption. So I will not I will not entertain that proposal. We had there's my title for Monday. We had an insane night out at the CPA office. Will you be selling a new Dan promo variant at the New Jersey Collecticon, looking to bulk up on my investment and diversify among the variants? I might be. I have no like immediate plans for anything with the Dan promo. I have the remainder of the Dan promos in here. 2 sealed bricks plus like 40 or 50 loose, however many it is. More will release at some point. It might be this year. It might not be this year. I genuinely don't have any firm plans. This must be when I was showing if we need to, I actually have the digital 1040 and the digital Schedule C. If people want to know, like, where do I write in on this form? Where do I write in my mileage? Where do I write in? I will bring up the forms and I will show you. Like, wherever we want to go tonight, we will go. So Dan's hammered and officially speaking on behalf of the U.S. government now. Got it. He's got the tabs open. Buckle up, boys. It's a good one. I live in Cali. I just want to dip my toes in on selling and grow if I can manage it. I just don't know if I should even bother in this state. Where I live in New York, we have pretty high state income taxes. Some states you don't have income taxes. Every state gets their money. There's actually some states that don't get all their money. Some states run a statewide deficit, and some states run a statewide surplus, and then some of that's like shuffled around. The federal subsidizes, blah, blah, blah. But some have high income taxes and low property taxes. Some have no property, like some have high property taxes and no income taxes. So sales taxes, some have none. They all get their money somehow. But what I said in my video Monday, like, even if you don't know that you're going to do this full time, even if you know that you'll never do this full time, it is such a low hurdle to get a separate credit card, to get a separate bank account, and keep it all separate. Keep it all separate just in case. If you're making money, even if you're not intending to, if you're making money, the IRS wants that money to show up on this form. If you find a $10 bill in a coat that you bought, from like secondhand, wherever, they want you to declare that money. So having everything separately, it's makes things easier. And my video on Monday, I'm going to go to eBay. I'm going to pull the 1099K reconciliation form. I'm going to go to my bank account and I'm going to pull my CSV of all my transactions. I'm going to go to my credit card and I'm going to pull all the transactions. I'm going to show you exactly how you do reseller taxes on Monday. It'll probably be like a 3-part video, maybe 2-part, maybe like 2 30-minute videos on how to pull all the things, where to put all the numbers, and then why an S corporation helps you, why paying your children on payroll if they materially participate. They participate materially. We'll get into all that on Monday, on the next Monday, until we're done. Dan's kids, Daddy, my fingers hurt from opening packs. Dan, well, too damn bad. I mean, hey, you're trying to make $20 an hour over here, son. You gotta rip those packs faster. So children for their parents can do a lot more when it comes to work. Like, there are absolutely child labor laws. Your kid can't go get a job at the butcher department at Walmart, but your children, especially like working on a farm, working for the family business, those are things that have entirely different sets of rules. I'm in New York. California might be different. Texas, North Dakota, like any state might be different. But consult with a local professional that is competent. No wonder Dan lives in the woods. He's hiding from the IRS. If you Google minimum age to work in New York, I'm going to Google it right now. Minimum age to work in New York. The minimum age to work in New York, minors not yet 14 may not be employed at any time, neither after school nor during vacation. But that is all exempt. That is all different when it is a family business. Everything changes. So it says like a 13-year-old cannot get an employment certificate. A 13-year-old cannot get working papers. They don't need it though. They do not need it for a family business. So everything, like when I say, like people hear it, their eyes roll, they fall asleep, whatever it may be. When I say taxes are complex and we're all playing the same game, we're all playing a different game, different rules in the same arena. People's eyes roll, yeah. But it's true. Like, this stuff is very complex. It all varies. It's always case by case. Earlier, L-Dubs, I believe it was asking for the optimal Roth versus traditional IRA blend. There is no such thing because it depends on how much money you're going to save total and what you're going to do. And again, like, depending on how much you earn, there's backdoor Roth IRAs. There's mega backdoor Roth IRAs. If you make too much, you can't contribute to a Roth. But there's these loopholes, avoidance strategies, whatever you want to call them. I don't make the rules. I just play by them. And I play well. I aim to play. I aim to play in an elite tier. I want to be the GOAT of tax avoidance, legal tax avoidance. 1K an hour sounds super reasonable to me. Dan, when are you going to put real estate in the portfolio, put lipstick on the pig and sell the thing? I believe that I've talked about this before, but it's funny. My dad and my grandpa, if you look at my grandpa's portfolio, and I don't know my grandpa's whole like investment portfolio. I don't know his whole net worth statement. He is heavily slanted though towards individual stocks. Some in the healthcare space, and I guess I know what they are, but I don't need to elaborate on what they are. He's heavily slanted towards a handful of like individual stocks. My dad, almost no stocks whatsoever. He has like a ton of property though. Not a ton, but his net worth percentage by property. Like, he owns all of his property that he lives in and the property that he works out of, his business property, commercial property. He owns those free and clear. No debt, no consumer debt, no debt of any kind. My dad and my grandpa. My grandpa is way too heavy in individual stocks. My dad is way too heavy in real estate. Like, no stocks whatsoever. He does a little bit with like precious metals. He does a little bit of silver and stuff. And then if you look at me and include my business inventory, I am way too heavy in cardboard, like non-traditional assets. I have a decent bit of crypto. So if you pool the income, not the income, the net worth of these three generations. We have a reasonably balanced portfolio amongst the three of us. It's pretty funny. Someday I might own some real estate, but I see the struggles that my dad goes through. I see the bad tenants. My dad right now is undergoing a foreclosure, potentially undergoing a foreclosure with one of his properties, and he was holding the mortgage instead of just selling it and having like a traditional bank mortgage. But anyways, I might own real estate someday. I've had the thought, but I've not yet done it. We got MetaZoo Games YouTube. MetaZoo Games YouTube is taking notes. Maybe they went under because they weren't strategically taking advantage of taxes. I don't know. There are pros and cons. I mean, it costs a lot of money to get married and have kids, but it also opens itself up to certain deductions and nice things like that. And also like life fulfillment and happiness and all that too. Give the 2-year-old some bulk to sort. Man, Dan has a few beers and gets behind in chat like a mofo. I am 30 minutes behind. I will catch up with chat. Before I end this stream, I will answer every question that was asked. So keep leaving them. I'm going to go like as deep as I need to on the questions that are more like intensive. I will bring up all the tabs I have open. IPA plus Dan equals Rain Man. Oh, man. There are ways, I believe now, to maybe get like Bitcoin in ETFs that can be in your 401ks and IRAs. If they ever make a method to put ultra modern sealed in my IRA, self-directed IRA, I might have some ultra modern sealed in my self-directed IRA. But as of now, it's not allowed and I don't have any. So when you rip packs for the hobby or personal use and then sell the hits on eBay, do you classify the cost of the box as your cost or the pack it came out of? One thing I will tell you, I do not meticulously track every single, like, here's a very good example. I bought this box for probably $10,000. Out of this box, there were 36 packs. 12 of them, well, one of them I opened to verify the box was legitimate. And I graded the hollow, or I don't remember if I opened a hollow or a non-hollow pack out of this. But anyways, some amount of these get opened, turned into singles. Some get sold as raw packs. Some get sold as graded packs. I do like since I'm accrual basis, I have to. If you're cash basis, you don't even have to. It doesn't matter. It's just money that you spent and that's it. But since I'm accrual basis, I have to estimate my year-end inventory every year. I have literally millions of cards. I don't have a million-line spreadsheet where, okay, this box was 360 cards and I attribute a value to everyone. No, like I estimate what I have left from that. I estimate what I have in total. So if you if your cash basis, it doesn't matter. If your cash basis, I bought a $10,000 box and that was an expense and I write it off the day that I buy it. What happens? Like most people in Pokemon should be cash basis. Cash basis benefits most people in so many ways. So most people, you bought the 10K box and then it doesn't matter subsequently what you do with it because you've already fully written it off. You can't double write it off. You can't, like, it doesn't matter. That's why cash basis is so simple and so nice. You write off inventory when you buy it. So was I a top 1% chemical engineer? Definitely not top 1%. Definitely not whatsoever. Top 30% maybe? I think I was better than the average. I would put myself in the top third. I don't know if I'd go higher than that, but who knows? Teachers don't get paid for maternity leave. That's foul. Yeah, where I live in New York, paid family leave is a thing. I think I got 6 weeks at like 2/3 pay. When I had my son, maybe I got like 12 weeks at like 70% pay when I had my daughter. But she's in a union and all that, and New York paid family leave exemption due to that. It's all so complex. Like not even just the tax code, the the medical situation. Every state is different. Every country is different. It's wild. Like everyone has their own unique situation, and they need to optimize for that. There's no like universal best way. But yeah, she went a year unpaid with each child that we had. Maybe a little more than a year. Like a year and then some change to like round off for the next school year. make an argument to further diversify outside of VU and like ETFs such as C Fund, Federal Fund. I feel like any excess going into Roth IRA has to go to VU. US Corps are too powerful. Yeah, so I am very active in the personal finance sphere. If you want to go deep down rabbit holes, look up Bogleheads, amazing forum. There are amazing subreddits on Reddit, personal finance, Bogleheads, all different kinds of like FI, 3 fund portfolios, 2 fund portfolios. What's the best? One thing I will say about the, I feel like I'm saying one thing I will say a lot. One thing I will say about the VU, S&P 500, Vanguard's S&P 500 index fund or ETF. They own companies. There are companies enclosed within that, like Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is a global brand. It's a US company, but they sell around the world. So built within the S&P 500, there's a decent sized exposure to international markets because you own companies that are US based but have massive international exposure. So some people argue, and I'm not gonna get like I'm not a CFP. I'm not. I do heavily VU, and then I do a little bit of like VTTSX, I believe it is the 2060 retirement. Vanguard Retire Smart, like target date fund. It has overlap. So when I buy my VTTSX, it has overlap. Some amount of VU is like encompassed within there, but they also have bonds. They also have certain things. Over the years, they get more aggressive or they get less aggressive. They sell more bonds. They sell more equities and they buy more bonds. But I have a large portion that's just straight VU. Straight. To be honest, I don't know if I do. I don't think I do VU. VU is the ETF. I believe I do. I'm gonna look up the mutual fund. I believe I do the S&P 500 mutual fund, which is FXAIX. So I do FXAIX, which is just the mutual fund version. A little bit, I'm not going to get into, like someday I want to have a finance channel. I want to talk about mutual funds versus ETFs, Roth versus traditional. I want to talk about everything as deep as possible. But for tonight, I think I went as far as I should on that question. Can you talk about lowering income on a cash basis accounting more? So yeah, let me open up my tab. And people like memed on PokeNE. People were wrong. Brian, if you're out there, I am on your side. So accrual versus cash basis. Here we are. So here's a theoretical business. Business A. Business A files on an accrual basis. Business A files on an accrual basis. Business B files on a, so we're going to put A here and B here. Why are they tiny? Business B files on a cash basis. So in a given year, in 2023, both businesses had the same numbers, same financials, everything the same. They both had 100 grand in sales. They both spent 100 grand on inventory. Inventory fees, grading, whatever you want to call it. Both of them had a starting inventory value of 100,000. Both of them had an ending inventory value of 150,000. So both of them, even though they sold the same amount as they bought, they both increased their inventory. Like they didn't break even because they grew their inventory while selling it and buying the same amount. So say they bought a Moonbreon for 500 and then they sold it for 1,000. That's all factored in there, their start and end amounts. So the ultimate amount, they started the year with 100 grand in their bank account. If you do the math, so take what they started with, add in what they sold, net sales, subtract off what they spent, 100 grand plus 100 grand minus 100 grand. They started and ended with 100 grand in their bank accounts. With accrual, they ended with 50 grand more in inventory that they started with. That 50 grand of new inventory, say they bought it on December 31st, a $50,000 collection. They cannot yet write that off because they're accrual. Accrual writes off inventory as they sell it. So accrual has a $50,000 net profit to report in this tax year. Whereas the same business B, same business, same buys, same sells, same everything, except their cash basis instead, they don't need to report. Well, they do report, but they report zero profit because it's cash basis. They take their bank account start minus their bank account end, or vice versa. They take their bank account end minus their bank account start. They made no money. On paper, cash basis, they wrote off all their inventory. So let's go a little bit deeper. Let's say at one point throughout the year, they had like $100,000 in inventory. They were going to and say let's see. So they were going to end with $100,000 in inventory, and they had a total spend. So here is where their inventory stayed the same. Their inventory stayed the same. December 30th, this is where they're at. So company A, company B, business A, business B, they both had $100,000 in sales. They both had $50,000 in spend on December 30th. On December 30th, both companies, because they had the start and end inventory of the same, they had the bank account start and end, they gained $50,000 in their bank account. So their inventory didn't go up at all, but their bank account went up $50,000. Both accrual, both cash. They both owe taxes on $50,000. But here's where it changes. On December 31st, they go and they make a purchase. They make a $50,000 purchase. So the spend goes up $50,000. The inventory goes up $50,000 because they just bought a $50,000 collection. Now, that's where the cash basis filer, they spent all their profits. Like they calculated everything December 15th, and then they had 2 weeks. And Brian talked about this in his TikTok, and he was right. The dummies in the comments were wrong. You spend all your money, you spend all the money you made, well, now you made no money. That is actually how it works. Like this is a very abbreviated version. This is very simplified, oversimplified even, but that is how it works. There are scenarios. And then the way that works, like decades down the line, let me go back. Decades down the line, this number will grow and grow and grow. The inventory will grow and grow and grow. The idea is that the government, the IRS has motivation to allow people to do that because they can grow and grow and grow their money. They can earn good returns on their money. And then someday they will have to like realize those profits. There are a lot of strategies. There are a lot of ways, like stepped up cost basis when you die. If you let your children, let your estate inherit your business, which we don't need to get so deep into that, but we can if people want to know. I went to the wrong camera angle there, but that is actually how it works. Like people who have no idea what they're talking about, they will run their mouths all over social media, and the scary thing is there are TikToks that say like, oh, open a corporation, pay your kids $10,000 a year. They will like not tell you that it needs to be earned income. If you fund an IRA, you can't fund an IRA with like money from nowhere. You need to earn income to fund an IRA. Your kids need to earn income to put them on payroll. So that is where TikToks will occasionally get it wrong. TikToks will occasionally leave out very important details. But that was not the case with Brian. That was not the case with Pokey. And there were people clowning on him that are so tax inefficient that are costing themselves so much money because they're not doing what Brian is doing and avoiding taxes legally. They're not doing what I am doing and avoiding taxes legally. So yeah, let me continue on. Let me get a sip and continue on. Hannah Vahabia says, "Hey, thanks for all this. Starting up in New York as an LLC in New York. Can I claim the boxes open during lives and TikToks as loss for taxes? Like the 10 packs at the end of your episodes." At I don't know if you're on the wrong, you might be on the wrong channel. I don't know 10 packs at the end of my stream. If you're cash basis, anything you buy with intent for resale for your business, you write it off when you buy it. So consult with your professional, consult with your tax professional. But inventory you buy to ultimately sell, you can write it off when you buy it. If you're cash basis, if you're accrual basis, you cannot until you sell it. But when you start talking about opening stuff and loss, it's all a different scenario. Very, very deep it goes. Pooping Turtle 69. Since you owe sales tax on card trading, is there any way to get a sales tax refund from trading cards if the item you trade for is for resale? Assuming no cash was used. If you buy items for resale, if you are properly structured as a business, you are not paying sales taxes on items intended for resale. So if I buy items from my distributor, from eBay, from wherever, I don't pay sales taxes. So if I take sales taxes, if I take a trade from a consumer at a Collecticon, if I take a trade from them, I don't have to pay sales taxes on my side because those are intended for resale. If they are a consumer, they need to pay sales taxes on their side. Since I've got it handy. Let me throw this up on screen. This is one. I mean, I'm a tiny channel. I have 50 people watching. Maybe 1,000 people, 2,000 people might watch this in total. What are we? We're an hour. We're 70 minutes in. People are not going to see this. This will strike fear. This will strike fear into the hearts of. Well, nobody's actually, like, a lot of people evade taxes in this space and aren't actually scared. This would, if people actually, like, follow the law, this would strike fear into people. Bartering and trading. So this is from, what website am I on? Let me make sure I know. I don't know if this is a New York website or a IRS. So this is the IRS website. If you are bartering or trading, so say person A, person B, non-businesses, just true collectors, they never sell anything. If person A trades to person B $1,000 box of whatever's worth $1,000, if they trade $1,000 box for $1,000 card, that counts as two sales. Person A is selling the box for $1,000 to person B. Person B is selling the card for $1,000 to A. There is sales tax due. There is sales tax that's supposed to be collected and remitted. And any gains. Say they both have a $100 basis on the card and the box. They both owe $900 in net profit. The tax is on $900 in net profit for that trade. I don't know how Veriswap gets around this. I don't know how, like, this market is so unregulated. This market is so, like, new. This market is so niche outside of, like, the purview of the IRS, that a lot of stuff just gets overlooked. But technically speaking, legally speaking, you owe taxes on the full value of the trade as it happens. And the reason for that is, this is another big thing. The stock market, all-time highs. Bitcoin, all-time highs. If someone bought Bitcoin at 1,000 a Bitcoin, and say they buy a trophy card for 70 grand. One Bitcoin is about 70 grand right now. When they trade the Bitcoin for the trophy card, they need to pay sales taxes on the $70,000 trophy card. If they're not buying it for resale, they need to pay $69,000 in gains. They need to pay taxes on the $69,000 in gains. People largely are not doing that. Very few people, if any, are doing everything correctly, legitimately, above board. Like, it is crazy. Continuing on. With the eBay vault becoming more popular, are you surprised people continue to sell high-end cards at card shows? I've been spending a lot of money buying high-end at shows than listing on the vault. I'm not surprised whatsoever. As I said earlier, I'm not advocating for this whatsoever. But if you sell a $5,000 card on the eBay vault, it hits your 1099 at the end of the year. If you sell a $5,000 card for cash in person, the IRS can't see it. How are they going to see that? If you post an Instagram story, if you post a YouTube video detailing every dollar you spent or every dollar you made at conventions, and then you file your taxes at the end of the year and you show no money for conventions, be careful. Be careful of all that. I'm paying a $100 consultation to have an eye staring contest with Dan. Do you report any of the cash buy/sales at conventions? Even so, it looks more legit because I'm guessing you write off convention expenses. So wouldn't it be expected you have some cash sales? I write off a lot of cash. I claim a lot of cash sales every year. Yes. Cash sales made at conventions. Cash sales made on Let It Go. What is it? Let Go. That's like the hip new Craigslist. Cash sales made on Facebook Marketplace, Venmo, PayPal, friends and family. That is all. You need to claim all that. Legally, you need to claim all that. Is there a tax advantage to using long-term inventory if you are hoarding sealed products and high-end singles? I don't know what your claim. That's actually one thing. Is there a tax advantage to using long-term inventory if you're hoarding sealed products and high-end singles? So what I will say, I don't have this one pulled up and ready, but I will do my best here. Let me so as I showed earlier, let me get the proper one. So as I showed earlier, I made a lot of money. I made a lot of money in 2020 and 2021. I sold a lot of stuff. I paid a lot of taxes. So say theoretically, random number, not real. Say I made $400,000 in a year. If I made $400,000 in a year, my last $35,800 was taxed at 32%. That's a lot of money. Most people don't make that much money in a year. But the long-term capital gains rate for collectibles is 28%. So theoretically, if I had a single card, say like I actually did, I had a trophy card. I had a trophy Pikachu card. I bought a #1 trophy Pikachu for 20 grand with all the festivals, with the champion on down to the top 32. I allocated a certain amount of that. I put a certain number. I think I put like 12 grand on the #1 Pikachu. I bought it for 12 and I sold it for 100 over a year after I bought it. A year holding becomes long-term capital gains. And this is where it gets a little bit different. Whether you are selling, if it's a collectible, it's 28%. But say you're in stocks, say you're in crypto, say we're talking about something else. Here we are. If you make married filing jointly up to 90 grand a year, you pay 0% long-term capital gains. If you make up to 550 grand, you pay only 15% long-term capital gains. This is more for crypto. This is more for stocks held outside of IRAs and 401ks. But collectibles is 28% flat. But there are absolutely advantages at times to claim sales. If you make a lot of money, if you make this kind of money, if you make in a year $1 million, instead of paying 35%, well, now you only pay 28%. So there are advantages if that's the way I understood it correctly and all that. Good question though. Can you buy a shit ton of inventory and record a net loss to lower your taxable income? And is there a limit? So this is where I am not cash basis. I do not file cash basis. Consult with a professional. I told you at the start of this stream, I told you I will tell you if I am like less comfortable answering a question. This is one that I am not as comfortable answering. This is one, where are we? This is one where up to the amount of money you made. So you can get your profit down to 0. Once you start going negative, once you start trying to claim a loss, there are certain, they call it like means testing. There are certain things where you need to make money in 3 out of 5 years. Otherwise, they'll reclassify you as a hobby. There are certain limits on how much money you can claim as a loss to your other income from a business. I have never claimed, I've never claimed a large loss. There are definitely some years between 2014 and 2019 where on paper, I did not make much money. If I were a cash basis filer, it would be more of a frequent thing. But let me slide this back over. This is something that I will say that I am an infinite money glitch. You can't just like, oh, I make 300K a year in my day job, so I'm gonna lose 300K a year in my Pokemon job. Like that cannot just happen forever. Like there are limits to all that. Consult with somebody. Just tuning in, red lights are on, absolutely. E-Unit, Stonk Doggins late to the party. L-dubs, we have actual CPAs, accountants, all that stuff in here. You can carry over the loss to the next year to continuously lower your profits each year, but I believe it caps at lowering your income each year at around 3 grand. Yes, very, very low. Very, very low cap. Why do some consignments hand out 1099Ks and others don't? Which consignments hand out 1099Ks? I have talked with my accountant. My accountant is fully aware of everything I do in my business. My accountant is fully aware that I take in cards from people and I sell them. If anything, my consigners would have to 1099 me. Because say, shouting out my consignment service. And the details are below when I'm on this screen, right down below. But if I sell a $10,000 card on behalf of someone else, That's their money. It sells for 10 grand in the eBay vault, 0 fees. I give them 10 grand. They pay me back $100. So I withhold $100 for my fee, 1% on items above $10,000. Reach out today if you want to consign with me. That's money they're paying me. They're not being paid anything. They're getting the proceeds of their sale. They need to take that and they need to claim that. They need to do all their stuff on their end. But I don't have to 1099 them because I'm not paying them any money. I'm giving them the proceeds of their sale. They're the ones paying me for a service. But individual people do not have to 1099 corporations or businesses. So they don't have to 1099 me either. But if anything, I would have to 1099 them, or they would have to 1099 me, not vice versa. I don't know of any consignment service that 1099s people though. Yeah, better question, Preston. When do I need to mail my 1099 to you, Dan, for your consignment services? Anytime you want to, hit me up. Like I track the numbers all myself. I give them all to my accountant. But if every consigner 1099 me, it would just be like a sanity check. It would be a double check on all my numbers, right? Yep, and all collectibles. Yes, Takibana, you walked into a financial advice, tax advice stream. Accrual is a nightmare. Yes. Yes, it's a marginal tax bracket. It is a marginal tax rate. One big pet peeve that I have is that people that know nothing about taxes. I used to hear them at the water cooler. I used to hear them at the lunch table. People would say like, "Oh, well, I make $44,000 a year, so I only pay 12%. If I get a raise, now I'll pay 22%. If I get a raise from 44 to 46, I will actually lose money because now my 46 will be taxed at 22%. No, dummy. Obviously you got to count for the standard deduction, but your first 11,000, your first 13,850, everyone's, Elon Musk's first 13,850 is the standard deduction. Well, he doesn't even use the standard deduction. He itemizes. So that's not even relevant. But everyone's first 10 grand, everyone's first 11 grand is 10%. Every single person pays $1,100 on their first $11,000 made for 2023. And then the next, and then the next. If I had a finance channel, one thing I would tell you, and I am doing the whole financial independence thing. I intend on retiring early. There are subsidy cliffs for different medical plans. There are subsidy cliffs for certain different things you can do. So there are absolutely instances where a small raise can actually lose you money overall, but the simplified way that most people allude to it and talk to about it, they are completely wrong. They are thinking that all their inventory gets taxed at the new higher rate, and they're just dumb or ignorant or both. But there are subsidy cliffs. There are actually times where people getting an extra $5 grand a year, and that's where if you're a cash basis filer, you can spend $5 grand extra grand to lower your taxable income and not go over that subsidy cliff. Like there are so many tools at your disposal to set your income to what you want it to be. It's actually crazy. Can you get a reseller's license with just a DBA and not an LLC? Yes. I got my certificate of authority, it's called in New York. My reseller's license, my sales tax, collecting, remitting, permit, whatever. Certificate of authority, it's called in New York. So many people in this space jump to an LLC. Like people are so ignorant of the rules, the laws. People jump to an LLC thinking it does something. LLCs, especially the way that people use them improperly, do almost nothing in this space. They do not limit your liability. If you are using a personal bank account, if you are using your personal credit card that you put your groceries on and buying Pokemon cards to resell, the corporate veil will be pierced if you do something fraudulent, if you do something that leads to you getting sued. A lot of people spend a lot of money, a lot of time, waste a lot of energy getting an LLC that helps them none at all. I got an LLC as a precursor to getting an S corporation, because all an S corporation is, every time I say S corporation, it just means I'm an LLC who has filed an S election with the government. I'm an LLC I incorporated it into an LLC, and I filed an S election with the IRS. My attorney actually did. I didn't do it myself. I paid someone $800 to $1,000 to do it. And that enables me to, if we want to show the spreadsheet, I have a spreadsheet for that. How an S corporation saves me $10,000 a year, every year, minimum. I mean, it could be more than that, could be less than that, could be more than that. But a lot of people jump to LLC and it does them nothing. It does them nothing. Sole proprietorship. Once you start, I said it in my video Monday. If you watch my video Monday, if you start acting as a business, buying with intent to resell, buying with intent to profit, you are by default under your Social Security number. You will file under your Social Security number as in sole proprietorship. Our collectible is actually taxed at 28%. I've heard it's up to 28%. So does that mean it's your normal rate till 28%? Long-term capital gains on collectibles are 28%. If your marginal rate is lower, you just wouldn't claim it as a capital gain. You would claim it as, this was my buy price, this was my sell price. If your cash basis filing anyways, that's irrelevant because you already wrote it off years ago. You're not writing it off the year that you sell it. It's only relevant if you're accrual basis or if you're like tracking that. If you're a cash basis business, you're not tracking that. It doesn't matter. I already did this. I am 40 minutes behind, so I'm assuming, Takibana, that I answered. If you need more elaboration on cash versus accrual, cash, you write it off when you buy it. Accrual, you write it off when you sell it. You maintain an inventory, starting inventory, ending inventory. It's pretty simple, but a lot of people have no idea. Yeah, go to an accountant, always. We want to know, show us the forms. Ask me specific questions with reference to the forms and I will show the forms. If you have a W-2 and 1099s and doing cash basis, do expenses related to 1099 count as your deduction, or would you do standard deduction and offset 1099 income with expenses? If you have a W-2, so you're a 9-to-5er with a W-2 income, and you're side hustling this, and you get a 1099 from eBay. This is the way that I'm interpreting it. If I interpret it incorrectly, let me know. Do expenses related to your 1099 count as your deduction? Or would you do standard deduction and offset 1099 income with expenses? So this is where we get into the Schedule C. Let me, I'm glad I pulled up the Schedule C. I say that and I didn't. Let me pull it back up. Oh man. So I'm going to show you the Schedule C. If you are a W-2 employee and you have eBay side hustle income, you might not be able to see this whatsoever, and I apologize if you can't. I'm going to do my best. But when you have expenses related to that 1099, so your 1099 will go into Part 1 income. Your 1099 from eBay goes into your gross receipts or sales. When you buy stuff, that goes into cost of goods sold from line 42. Line 42 is, this is where you put cash versus accrual. This is where you put materials and supplies. This is where you put like your stamps you buy. This is where you put your shipping you buy through eBay. This is where you put your purchases in number 36. This is where you put your cost of labor. If you have streamers that you pay, if you have whatever other costs, eBay fees, things like that, grading fees, like certain accountants will put the grading fee under here and the other ones will put it under there. At the end of the day, it all gets added and then subtracted from all these numbers above. So yeah, that's the actual form. If you are a W-2 9-to-5er and you have a 1099, that stuff doesn't, like you will take the standard deduction and you will still be, like, you don't have to itemize. What I'm trying to say in a long way, you do not have to itemize to write off business expenses as a sole proprietor, because business expenses will be written off within your cost of goods sold on your Schedule C. So you can take the standard deduction and write off expenses. That is the answer to that. As I've been saying, I am not a tax professional. This is my understanding, my interpretation. Consult with somebody. But I know more than the worst CPA in the world knows. So I will say that. Are you able to reclaim taxes you paid on items intended for resale from a business that does not accept resale certificates? So if you live in Oregon or Delaware, it doesn't matter because there's no sales taxes. So you're not paying sales taxes. Every state is different. New York State, where I live, they have a mechanism for reclaiming sales tax paid on items intended for resale. It's a big headache, it's a big annoyance, but it's there. Every state is going to be different, so I cannot comment further than New York. If they don't, though, you would add that into your cost of goods sold, so you wouldn't necessarily reclaim the full amount, but it would go into your cost basis for buying the item if you're in a different state that doesn't allow for that. I need a lot of info. I just started doing reselling this year and I've already sold over 20,000 on TCG and eBay and don't have a clue what I need to do about taxes. I need all the info I can get. I think I've said a lot here. I offer consultations for $100 an hour. Come to me with good questions because some people have wasted their $100 an hour. Some people have not gotten great value because they have bad questions. I paid years ago, 10 years ago, more than that, I paid an accountant $150 an hour and I had terrible questions. I did not know the right questions to ask. I got a 1099 from PayPal, eBay. I didn't know what I was doing. And my questions were terrible. The answers were not great because my questions were bad. Ask them here. You got me right now. Jackson will only be a landlord if it can produce a 13% cash-on-cash return after property management fees. Dan Bank. So this is when I was talking about my net worth, my allocations, my dad, my grandpa. I'm so far behind. How do I get my 64-year-old dad to start saving for retirement? Yikes. I have relatives of some sort that are never going to be able to retire. I mean, you just work till you die. That is the retirement plan. A lot of people's retirement plan is die young or just work till they die. I mean, yeah, that's the retirement plan of a lot of people. Or hit the lottery, which some people do, but most people don't. I think my marriage certificate costs like $75 and it ain't that expensive. My wedding was about $6,000. I think the average wedding today, let me look it up. Average wedding cost. Average wedding cost today was $30,000. I got married for $6,000. I paid for it all out of pocket. I went on a honeymoon that was also $6,000. So my total, I spent on one day to get married, I spent $6,000. And then on 2 weeks to have like one of the best, probably the best vacation of my life still, a 2-week honeymoon in Alaska, very atypical honeymoon spot. But, we paid for it all. We paid for it all up front, and it was money we had, we could afford. We didn't borrow for it. Ray's here, learning about taxes from a pro, TurboTax Collectibles. Do you mix your personal purchases with business? Like say you want a 2K card, would IRS really ever know it's in your PC and not business inventory you're trying to sell? I do not have a collection. I have an inventory. I have a long-term inventory maybe on certain cards. I have never had a collection. I've never had a PC. I have always intended to resell everything. Certain things I buy intending to resell the next day. Certain things I buy intending to sell 50 years later. Honestly though, very, very little that I have that isn't for sale. It's all for sale. Some of it's not listed, but it's going to be listed at some point. It's all like short to medium term at best. None of it is like forever term. The only stuff I'm going to keep forever is like my childhood binder and gifts and things like that. I have very, very little. James has all his money in cash so he can buy Pokemon. I mean, I hope people are like tax advantaged, maxing out IRAs, 401ks and things like that. Like it's so much more advantageous to, because it's all exempt. It's all exempt from taxes, right? I don't know. Cash basis is for the weak. Dan, in another life, do you think you could have been a CPA? I definitely could have been a CPA. I could have been an accountant. We have an accountant. We have an accountant in here. I mean, I've talked about CPAs. Somewhere there is a worst CPA ever. We have an accountant in here that was buying items intended for resale and paying sales tax on those items. I'm not saying James is the worst accountant in the world. I'm just saying he's an accountant that was buying items intended for resale and paying sales taxes on those items. That's all I'm saying. I would not hire James to be the accountant for Catch 'em All Collectibles Incorporated. Why would you own an index mutual fund over an index ETF? So again, someday that I have a finance channel, I will probably do like mutual funds versus ETFs. They're functionally the same thing in a lot of ways. I'm not going to delve too deep into this. I started into one. ETFs are becoming more and more of a thing. 15 years ago, 20 years ago, like 15 years ago, when I entered the workforce, ETFs were not quite as ubiquitous as they are today. So that's part of it. And then, yeah, ultimately though, across the 50-year time frame of investing into, what was it? I don't remember what the ticker was, but VOO versus VTI, VT, whatever else. Very, very similar. Functionally the same. I'm just here for the Evolving Skies TCG player graph. VFFVX 2055. I'm in not all these acronyms. I'm losing which one I'm in. I'm in the 2061. I went in the 2061. I'll be 70 in 2060. The proper one for me probably would have been 2050, but I wanted one that was going to be a little bit more aggressive, a little bit longer. So I went a little bit further out. I appreciate you appreciating me, Nest TCG. Just want to say this is awesome. Appreciate you sharing your insight and experience. I'm 2 years into this and slowly learning, and there's indeed a lot of things you can do to take advantage of tax law. Yeah, profit 3 out of 5 years. I don't know the intricacies of that. I've never pushed the limit on that. How does it work to convert personal collection stuff into the business when starting? What are the implications for the individual and the business? Also, is the business LISC cost a write-off? Business licensing cost a write-off? Yes. If you are paying a CPA to file your taxes, that is a write-off. If you are paying an attorney to incorporate your business into an S corporation, that is a write-off for your business. That doesn't mean the $800 that I paid my attorney was free. That means that I didn't pay 22% taxes on that $800. That, you never save all of it. A tax write-off does not save you all of it. It saves that marginal rate. If you live in California and you make $5 million a year, that marginal rate you save might be close to 50%, but it doesn't save you all of it ever. So this is something that is a very frequent thing. A lot of people will start with selling items that they had when they were a child. What it comes down to is, let's do something a little bit simpler. So say you buy a sofa. Say you buy a sofa from whatever your local furniture store is. You spend $1,000 on the sofa. 10 years later, how long does a sofa last? 10 years later, you sell your sofa for $100. What's a used sofa go for? $100, probably not even. You don't pay taxes on those gains because there's no gains. You paid $1,000 and you sold it for $100. You lost money. If you Google, I guess let me just do the Google quick and show it on the screen. One thing that I think people are really bad at, and this is not towards Solemn Star, this is not towards anyone in particular, but a lot of people are just really bad at Googling, or they're just too lazy to. I don't know what it is, but so here it is right here, and this is from IRS.gov. Never use TikTok. Never use YouTube. You cannot refer to this video if the IRS ever audits you. So what to do with Form 1099-K? So if you sold personal items, a loss on the sale of a personal item cannot be deducted from your taxes. So if you buy a $1,000 sofa and you sell it for $100, you lost $900, but you use that thing for a decade. You don't get to write off $900. You get to write off business expenses, but not personal use items. So what you do is, say you sell that thing on eBay, PayPal, Facebook Marketplace, and you get it in a 1099. You take that $100 sale and you zero it out. So it shows right here. A loss on the sale of a personal item cannot be deducted from your taxes. but you can zero out the reported gross income so you don't pay taxes on it. So if you're selling childhood cards, say your parents bought you a booster case of Pokemon cards. Say they bought it at $1,000. Like, say they were paying $150 a box, and say you sell your childhood collection for $1,000, the same $1,000 that they put into it. There's no gain there. There's nothing to report. So talk to your parents, talk to whoever got you the cards. What was the cost basis? If you don't know exactly, you can estimate it. You can estimate what it could have been. It gets difficult. Like, I'm not saying this is easy, but you estimate what the cost was then. And if it's a gain, say the cost was $1,000 and you're selling it for $2,000 today, your gain is $1,000. You pay taxes on the $1,000. It's all pretty straightforward. Well, I say it's straightforward, but it's like it's fairly complex, I guess. I don't know which one it is. I understand it all. It all makes sense to me. It's all, you can logically follow it, but it's I don't know what the right word is. I'm not good enough with English, not good enough with words. If Ray sells me a box, I pull the chase card, it grades a 10, I send it to ZNG for auction, it sells for 40% of market price, can I write off the earth-shattering W I just experienced? So if your cash basis, you write off the purchase of the box, you write off the grading fee, and then that's it. And then whatever comes in, that goes in with everything else that comes in. It's very simple. My daughter turns 2 in May. Can I write off my milk and diapers as an expense if she's vital to my business operations? You can talk to your accountant. If your daughter's milk and diapers are the two thresholds for a business expense to be able to be written off are ordinary and necessary. Is there any business in the world where diapers and milk are an ordinary and necessary expense? If you are a diaper manufacturer, I mean, you could probably write off the R&D for developing a diaper. You can write off some amount of the diapers that you create under R&D. You can write off the raw materials bought to create the diapers. Selling Pokemon cards, you would have a very hard case to make. I'm not saying it couldn't be done, but you would have a very hard case to make to be able to write off your diapers and milk. But I'm not going to unilaterally say that you can't. Stop calling people dumb, Dan. A lot of people are very dumb and very ignorant. I have a theory that I often talk about in real life that 99% of people are morons and only 1% of people are truly smart and logical consistently. What's your take? I have no idea. It's funny because you can be in I could be talking to a crowd of 1 million people. And I could say most people are dumbasses. And 1 million people will nod in agreement. And some amount of those are dumbasses. Like, I don't know how many. I don't know which ones are. But people always think it's not them. Some amount of people will be self-prescribed, self-admitted dumbasses. But most people, what is that? Is that the Dunning-Kruger effect? Where very incompetent, dumb people will think they're very... Yeah, people will overestimate their ability in a certain space. Hopefully, this entire live stream is not an exercise in Dunning-Kruger. I don't believe it to be so. I know we've had a couple accountants in the live chat. I think they would have jumped on me if I said anything improper about cash versus accrual, if I said anything improper. We haven't gotten deeply into S-Corp versus sole proprietorship. We had a little bit of talk about LLCs, but if we want to get into it, I can talk about how I save $10,000 a year being an S-Corporation. I have a spreadsheet ready to go for it. But I don't think 99% of people are morons. I think the average person is relatively fine, but they have their own areas of further, their own areas where they specialize, their own best areas of competency and all that. And then, but half the people are dumber than the median, right? Not the average, but half the people in the country, in the world, are dumber than the median. The median isn't super bright, and then half the people are dumber than that. So I don't know. Is this where we pre-order brisket? The food truck. 2 channels I want to make years from now. I want to make a personal finance channel and I want to make a food truck, smoking meats, running that business channel. Probably less business. So I will probably have a finance channel where I talk about the business aspects of my Pokemon business, of my food truck business. But the food truck business would probably be more purely the process of making the food. It would be some about the business, because I guess you'd run out of stuff to do. That said, I follow some barbecue business YouTube channels, and they talk about a ton of stuff. They review this smoker versus that smoker, this wood versus that wood, this rub versus that rub. They sell their own rubs, they sell their own recipes and things like that. And Raymond says, thanks for answering questions. Have another. Appreciate the $5. No need. I've answered every question thus far. I will answer every question before this live stream ends. I appreciate the $5 super chat though. Fun racing to the bottom with you on TCG Player, our Patreon memberships, and this super chat and expense too. Honestly, well, I don't know what we're racing to the bottom with on TCG Player. I think the only thing I have on TCG Player currently is MetaZoo. So do you sell MetaZoo? I am not advocating for anyone to claim this themselves, but I am subscribed to Patreons. I am subscribed to YouTube Premium, and I write those off. I write those off as far as like when I was a chemical engineer, my company used to actually buy me certain publications. So it wasn't better than writing it off myself. My company used to just buy it. So free is better than 22% discount, 30% discount. And mind you, everything I've shown, everything I've said with respect to, where were we? Everything I've said with respect to these, this is all federal. This is all federal only. State is separate. Let me try to get this back. So from this, state is separate, and the 15 point whatever FICA taxes are separate too. So this is all just the federal marginal tax brackets. But anyways, let me get back to this one. I write off my YouTube Premium because I am staying engaged and staying updated on my market, on my area of expertise, on my, I am actually doing educational things with my YouTube Premium. I have a personal one. I have a personal YouTube Premium. I don't deduct any of that. But I have a business one that is deducted. I subscribe to some Patreons that are deducted. I talked with my CPA. I told them exactly what I was paying for, exactly what the product is. And they said, yes, talk with your own and see what they say. Late night. So I'm working on IPAs right now. I'm about to crack a new one. I'm going very slow because I'm talking too much. At Collecticon, I'm usually in a group of 8 people talking amongst themselves. So I only talk for 12.5% of the time. I can consume a lot more IPAs when I'm only talking 1/8 of the time. How much I have to talk right now, I'm going a lot slower. But I've been 2 a.m. many IPAs deep at a Collecticon, and I've talked about writing off my business vehicle. I've talked about writing off YouTube Premium. I've talked about writing off part of my cell phone plan. Not all of it, because some amount's personal, but some people think oh my God, how can you do that? You can't do that. That's anything that's ordinary and necessary. A cell phone, internet, answering my eBay messages, answering my emails, that's ordinary and necessary for a business. My computer for my business, office space, personal use of home. These are all ordinary and necessary expenses, and many, many things. One thing about being a W-2 9-to-5er, I used to drive 20 minutes to work. My 20-minute drive to work was called a commute. My 20-minute drive to work was called a commute, and it could not be written off. Now, I don't have a commute. I work from home, and when I go to the post office, business miles. When I go to UPS, business miles. If I go to a local LGS, if I go to the airport to fly the convention, all my miles are business miles for my business vehicle. So a lot of things that people think can't be written off can be ordinary and necessary. I need to get to the post office to ship my stuff and to pick up my P.O. Box stuff. So, yeah. Here we go. Absolutely, Patreon is expensible. Why is this not coming up? Okay, there we go. My live chat was frozen for a second. Back to sales tax from trades. If you trade to a consumer, aren't you the one liable to collect their sales tax? So you would be in the hole by the state when they don't pay, right? Yes. So, and this goes deep. This goes very deep. This is one of those areas where every state is different. I'm not going to get too deep on it because this is getting way outside my areas of expertise. But I'm in New York. I have a certificate of authority. I am required to collect and remit sales tax in the state of New York. When I sell on eBay, though, eBay handles all of that. If they're in New York, if they're in Florida, if they're in California, if they're in Switzerland, eBay handles all of that. eBay is way undervalued for all the tax compliance they do. When I travel to Texas, every state is different. Certain states, you need to get a temporary vendor permit. Certain ones you don't. Certain ones you need to collect and remit sales tax. Certain ones you don't. How every state goes, what every state is, like, I'm not going to get into that because I don't really know that. That is like way deeper. But yes, if I am in New York and I'm taking in a trade, I don't owe sales tax on my side, but I need to collect and remit on the side that I'm taking, on the side that I'm selling, on the side that I'm trading, but a trade is treated as two simultaneous sales. So this is where every state, not even states, counties. So I'm in a given county in New York State. If I go 10 minutes this way, if I go 5 minutes this way, I'm in a different county now. And it's a different sales tax jurisdiction with different rates, different rules. It is so convoluted. So sales tax is obscenely different, crazy. State tax, there's 50 jurisdictions, right? 50 states. County taxes, city taxes, village taxes, there are thousands and thousands of sales tax jurisdictions in the United States. It is absurd. This will upload. This will be as a video that everyone can watch later. Do sales tax on trades even matter if you're a cash basis filer? If you're a cash basis filer, that has nothing to do with collecting and remitting sales taxes. Any items you sell to an end consumer, you need to collect and remit sales tax on that. So if I sell to Rusty, I forget what the form is called. If I sell to Rusty, he's a reseller. If I sell to Nick's a reseller. I don't have to collect and remit sales tax on behalf of those. Plus those are intrastate. Those are out of New York State. But yeah, if you sell to a reseller, they do not have to pay sales taxes. You have to get a form from them to verify that they are actually a reseller and that they don't have to pay. You need to get their sales tax exemption. That is what I gave to eBay. It's what I gave to Amazon. It's what I gave to my distributor. But sales tax is completely separate from that. Cash basis filing. If I'm cash or accrual, that doesn't matter. It doesn't care about sales tax. What kind of penalties and interest are you looking at for late filing? That's like a Google thing. What are the current IRS late filing penalty? So the IRS late filing penalty is 5% of the unpaid taxes for each month or part of a month that a tax return is late. The penalty won't exceed 25%. So ideally, don't file late, don't pay late, like pay what you owe. See, some people did not get their money's worth for my 1-hour consultation. Some people think everyone is like out to get them. The world is out to get them. And I hope there's nobody that left my consultation feeling like they didn't get what their money was worth. But it's personal responsibility. A lot of people love to paint themselves a victim. Personal responsibility. Some people have come to me not having a clue. Like asking the most basic questions. I answer every DM. I answer every email. I answer every Discord ping in the paywall. I don't answer every Discord ping outside of the paywall. But I am extremely accessible. I'm doing a 3-hour Q&A right now on YouTube. I am extremely accessible for free. So if you come to pay me money Like, you need to be prepared to ask the right questions. If you come and you start asking, like, I don't know, whatever bad questions are. If you start asking, how do I file taxes? That's way too broad. That's way too vague. If you start asking, like, how much money should I save? What percent should I put into the business versus not in the business? That's all dependent on your goals. Like, there's no right answer for that. And generally speaking, this is one great thing. For running consulting, one thing that I'm very comforted by, one thing that I'm very confident about running consulting with, most people that seek consultations, most people that are wise enough to seek outside help are disproportionately in a better spot than those that don't. Like, I'm going to get a little deeply red light here. All the dumbasses that say that there's no one out there that you should be paying for a Patreon. There's no one out there that you should be paying for consultations, this, that. All the information is for free. Absolutely. Ask me right now. I'll answer the same questions I would ask in a consultation. The thing is, with a consultation, people give me actual numbers. They give me their actual numbers one-on-one. It's private. It's not public. A lot of people don't want to broadcast their public stuff to YouTube. So, one, you get privacy with a consultation versus asking me on YouTube Live on the Hero Pokeflips. And the other thing that you get, I have been on YouTube for 3 years now. 3 full years. Actually, I think this is like my 3-year anniversary stream. At some point soon, I'll probably do like a 3-year anniversary 5K Q&A type thing, whatever. I do so many Q&As on live YouTube that it's kind of redundant. But I've made hundreds of hours, if not 1,000+ hours of content. I've answered everything, probably most everything, but I've not answered specifically for you. And also, do you want to go through 3 years of YouTube videos, hundreds of YouTube videos, thousands of hours of content to find the answer to your question? Or do you want to just spend like, how much do you value your time? I've consulted for people that make $300 an hour in their day job. I've consulted for people that make several $100,000s, if not millions of dollars a year. Or they're worth millions of dollars. Like, I've consulted for people at $100 an hour for people that make so much more than that. And then less than that too, though. I'm cheaper than my own CPA. I'm cheaper than a lot of CPAs. Some CPAs are cheaper than me. Are they the good ones? Are they the bad ones? Who knows? But the clowns out there who say that no one is ever worth paying for anything. Like, why pay a CPA? Why pay anyone? It's all on the IRS.gov. Go be an expert on the IRS.gov. Go self-incorporate yourself. Well, like, why would you ever pay an attorney to incorporate you? Why would you ever pay an accountant to file your taxes? Like, none of that ever makes sense. Why would you ever pay a barber to cut your hair? Why would you ever pay a mechanic to change your oil? Because some people don't want to do that stuff. Some people value their time more. Some people make more money than they pay to the other people. Like, that's such a clown take. That's such a clown take that some people have on that. Continuing on from that rant, I have time for all the more questions. Keep going. Keep them coming. I am 23 minutes behind, and I probably will have to take a bathroom break at some point. I'm cracking another IPA very shortly. Again, unfortunately, there are not 8 people talking. I cannot drink as quickly as I normally could at Collecticon. This is like my second beer since I started. No, third, I guess. Third since I started the stream. If you have time for one more question, who is responsible for sales tax for PayPal and or cash sales? Is seller supposed to collect, or is buyer supposed to track and report on their own? So, if I, living in New York, if I buy on a website that is outside New York, and they do not charge me sales taxes, when I file my New York State sales taxes, my New York State taxes, not sales taxes, I believe it's an ST201. Let me see if I can pull up the ST201 and show you exactly where it would go. I might not be able to do this, but maybe I can. So if I live in New York and I buy from a Florida-based company, they're probably not going to charge me sales tax because they probably don't have economic nexus in New York. They may or they may not. But on my IT 201, I was correct. On my ITO 201, there is a spot where I would have to declare, if I spent $1,000 online outside of New York and those sales were not subject to sales tax, I would report there and I would then pay my sales taxes due. If I'm buying, every state is different. Some states are destination based, where the item is being shipped to. Some states are source based. So this is one of those ones that's too complex to answer. But if you're in the same state, destination and source are the same. So the seller would have to collect and remit the sales tax. If I in New York am selling via PayPal to someone in Florida where I do not have economic nexus, I would not have to charge a sales tax as the seller. The buyer would have to report that on their state tax filing as a non-state untaxed purchase. I'm doing my best here. That one is fairly deep. It's a great question. And I know certain things in taxes, I know just enough to be dangerous. Let me see if I can find IT 201 purchases. I'm gonna see if I can find exactly. I probably won't be able to. Somewhere on Form IT 201 though, there is a spot where you report where you purchase stuff outside of the state that you did not pay sales tax on. I can't find it in a quick search, so I'll just continue on to not get too much further behind. Do you happen to know if eBay Vault accepts box toppers? The FAQ says trading cards only in all caps, make me think they don't want anything of abnormal size, but I'm not sure. As far as I understand, I'm not 100% sure. Single trading card sized. So BGS, PSA, CGC, greater than 250. I have explicitly asked them about packs. I know they do not accept, as of right now, graded booster packs. As far as jumbos, graded sealed promos, think like niche things, probably not. I think they're dealing with one thing right now. Graded single trading cards, that's it. Would you roll over a good 401k into a better match 401k, or take advantage of the wife not working and roll it into your Roth, paying taxes while married filing jointly, income is low? We got, you hear that, James? You're not hired, so don't even ask. James says, wow. That's when I said he was an accountant that pays sales tax on items intended for resale. I still love you, James, though. I still love you. I'll always bring that up, though. That's gonna be brought up forever. On my finance channel, I'll find a way to bring it up on my food truck channel, on all of them. Would you roll? Oh, so I already read this one. So just recently, my wife and I, before I got as deep into finances as I am today, there are early years in my career that I regret saving traditional. I saved when I was making little money. I saved traditional. My wife, when she was making little money before we were married, we both saved traditional. I wish we had saved Roth. So I have more traditional than I should. I wish I had had more Roth. So I left my employer in 2021. I'm going on 2 years full-time now, or 3 years full-time now. And that year I made a lot of money. So I rolled my traditional 401k into my traditional IRA. My wife rolled her traditional 403b into her IRA because she didn't stop teaching, but she switched schools. So she switched from one school to another, and she rolled her former employer's 403b into the new one. And if those were Roth, I would have kept them Roth. The reason that I didn't do a conversion from traditional to Roth is because I made too much money that year. I made too much money last year. I'm making too much money this year. One thing I envision is sometime between now and retirement, or early retirement, or in the years of early retirement, I intend on doing Roth conversions of my traditional IRAs, of my traditional 401ks, to pay the taxes smaller, earlier. Like say in a given year, let me bring up the proper thing here. So say in a given year, I made married filing jointly, say we made 130 grand. If we made 130 grand, well 127.7. If we made 127.7, 100,000 goes up here. So 11,000 is being paid 22% marginal rate. I guess it would be better if I made like 120. If I made 120, there's 90 here, there's 30 almost that's exempt here from the standard deduction. I would roll in up to this limit, like whatever I could Roth convert from traditional to Roth from 89,450. Like say after everything, our AGI was 75. I would convert 14,450 because I'm only paying 12% on it. So depending on the year, I mean, if you have a year where you have no income somehow, you can convert tax-free up to $27,700. So yeah, this is more like the finance channel type thing. This is more for future Dan to get into in depth, but there's a surface level thing there. I am very soon. I'm gonna run to the bathroom. I just cracked a new IPA. I'm gonna have to leave the screen for a couple minutes. Not ideal, but I feel like when you are 2 hours into a IRAs and IPA stream, it probably won't hurt me that bad. And I'm gonna have to go to the bathroom. So at some point soon, I'll take a break. I'll pop something on screen so that you guys can see something other than my empty thing. But yeah, let me take one more question, then I'll run. Would it be a bad strategy to do a Roth 401k so you can remove your contributions without penalty, but still get the employer match, and then put it all into flipping and Pokemon investing? So you cannot use Roth 401k proceeds. I don't know if I'm understanding this correctly, but you can't take money that's within a Roth 401k and buy Pokemon cards. Like that money is tied up for retirement. That money, there are exemptions. That there are certain special circumstances where for like funding college, for funding a first-time home purchase, you can dip into Roth 401k IRA funds and not pay the penalties. But that is not like for Pokemon cards. So I don't know if I'm understanding that incorrectly. Please elaborate if I am. I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to disable my face cam. I will be back in like 2 minutes. I'm back. Video coming back soon. Let's see how bad I killed my numbers. Let me go back full screen. I appreciate people bearing with me while I emptied the tank. So yeah, let me reread that question to make sure I didn't misinterpret it. Would it be a bad strategy to do a Roth 401k so you can remove your contributions without penalty, but still get the employer match, and then put it all into flipping and then Pokemon investing? Yeah, you can't use that money for Pokemon flipping and investing because it's tied up in that account, which is only accessible later in life. And very common question that I get, and this is more of a finance channel thing, but like financial independence, retire early, the whole FIRE movement. If you're putting all your money into 401ks and IRAs, they can only be accessed in retirement. How do you live? If you retire at 40, like how do you live for those 20 years until you can access the funds? There are a lot of strategies for that. There are a lot of strategies. Roth money deposited, the basis can be taken out. Not all the gains, but the basis can be taken out whenever. There are substantially equal periodic payments. So many in-depth tax strategies in and out of Pokemon. One of the most underutilized things. Like, that is one thing. I'm not going to get political. I'm not going to get anything like that here. But some people are very anti-capitalism. They're very, like, victim. They will throw their hands up. Like, this system is not fair. It's wrong. I'm not going to participate. Like, I am very much one that is, this is the game that we were born into. These are the rules that are set. I'm not gonna like kick the ball over the fence and refuse to play. I'm gonna play ball. Like this is the world we live in. I'm gonna optimize for the circumstances. Some people will just cry and it's not fair and yeah, like this is what it is. So like optimize for reality. Optimize for what we're in. That's my strategy. Any write-off hacks that maybe aren't super obvious, like aside from home office purchases, supplies, car, etc. I'll talk about more of them on Monday. But like, yeah, if you're in Patreons and they're like educating you in the space that you're selling in, if you're traveling some amount of like your meals, I believe it's 50%. I think in 2022, some of the pandemic type stuff, you could write off 100% for some reason. Some years it's 100%, some years it's 50%. If you are some amount of your cell phone, some amount of your data plan, if you're doing eBay on your phone, some amount of your like home office you have there, your mileage, there's a lot of stuff. Like let me pull up the Schedule C. I think I had it pulled up still. Where was I? So yeah, the Schedule C, every window I go to is slightly different. But on the Schedule C, there is advertising. Say you run. I'll do a video at some point. I know this is a big thing that like Brian at Pokey has talked about. If you're running Instagram ads, if you're paying for business cards, if you're any kind of advertising you're doing for your business, car and truck expenses, commissions and fees, labor, if you have streamers that you're paying or anything like that, if you have someone who packs orders for you, you should be 1099ing them or they should be on a W-2. Shouldn't be paying them cash under the table. What else is there? Legal and professional services, that's where if you're paying someone to file your taxes, if you're paying an attorney to incorporate you, office expense, taxes and licenses, travel and meals, deductible meals. Some meals I believe are fully deductible, some are only half deductible. Utilities, if you there are two things that at play. If you are having business mileage, you can either take the simplified or you can take the actual expenses. If you are doing personal use of home, you can do the simplified, multiply square footage by X number, or you can do the actual. Some people, it would be advantageous to go the simplified. Some people, it would be advantageous to go the normal. I believe once you put a car into service for the business, I don't think you can alternate between standard mileage and then actual costs. I think you have to, once you have a given car, you have to be standard or actual expenses for the whole duration of that. Like my car now that I have for the business, it is being amortized, depreciated across multiple years, and I'm writing off actual business expenses because I believe my actual expenses will exceed IRS 2023 mileage rate. So the mileage rate for 2023 is 65.5 cents per mile. I believe my true actual expenses are in excess of that. So I'm writing off, but I can't flip-flop year over year as far as I understand. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff there. Those are my thoughts though. Jordan says, not a doctor, not a medical professional, just a guy who likes giving medical advice and is better than most at Google MD. Mr. Dan the Taxman fully unleashed. Gotta love listening to this at work. Gonna love listening to this tomorrow at work on the clock. Double dipper. We got a double dipper in our midst. What benefits and or downsides come from filing jointly with your wife partner? Almost always, like very infrequently, is married filing individually beneficial? Married filing jointly, you just get the double the standard deduction. You get the double, basically everything just doubles. And there are rare circumstances, and I've never been in this, but I believe it's like if one individual makes an obscenely high amount, or maybe it's the other way. I believe if one individual makes an obscenely high amount and the other one makes like nothing, I believe it's slightly advantageous to do married filing independently. But for 99% of people, maybe it's not that high. Let me see. What percent married file separately? There are about 160 million tax returns, and there are about 4 million people. So 2 million couples file separate tax returns that use married filing separately. It's not, like percentage-wise, it's not that much. And here's actually why some people do it. Why do they do it? Obviously, they do it because it's advantageous to them. They pay less money. And if you had a CPA, if you had someone filing your taxes, they would tell you that. They would know that. Whether you take the standard deduction or whether you itemize, they know what's up. Yeah, I'm not going to get super deep. Like, I don't know what those situations are, but there are some rare circumstances where it's beneficial to you. James with the prayer hands. Can business loss be used to offset interest from 1099 interest? Business losses, I mean, I make money, so I don't lose money. I haven't claimed a business loss too frequently, if at all. Only $3,000 a year, I believe you can even claim. So I'm not exactly sure. I believe that would be able to offset that, but it's limited to $3,000 a year. You can extend it across multiple years. What are the tax implications of you sending me a MetaZoo NFT? That's a good one. I recently set retro a MetaZoo NFT. That was probably purchased with Ethereum that I bought with my personal money as a complete gamble. So that's all off the books anyways. No tax implications whatsoever. I gave it away. So I didn't sell it. There was no sale there. It has no value. There was no taxable sale. There was no sale whatsoever. It was just like a gift of a $0 item. How much did Dan write off for 400 bucks of MetaZoo? I am an accrual basis filer. I have in my inventory, say I have 400 boxes left. I don't have that much left. I probably have 200 left. I paid as a partner, what was it, 56 a box? So I have in my inventory, in my year-end inventory, well, year-end was actually like 400 boxes. 56 times 400. I had $22,400 allocated of my inventory, allocated towards those boxes. I did not yet write those off. If I threw them in the garbage and I disposed of them because they were worthless, I would then write them off. As I sell them now at a slight loss, like I get if I sell a MetaZoo box for 20 bucks, say 20 bucks net, my inventory goes down by 56 and my receipts go up by 20. So I actually this gets a little hard to follow. It's even a little hard for me to follow right now. But I make a $20 sale net. So say I make a $30 sale after fees, it's 20. So my total sales goes up 20. My inventory value goes down 56 because that's what I paid. I actually on paper lose $36 every box I sell. If those were the numbers. Those are made up. They're not the exact numbers, but so every time I sell one, it's like say I make 36 bucks selling this card. It offsets that. That doesn't mean I just make money for free, like a write-off, you make money. That means that I don't pay the 22%, 32%, whatever my percentage is on that. Back to the diapers and milk. What if the baby is a model for advertisements for your Pokemon biz? So if the baby's a model for advertisements for your Pokemon business, the baby needs diapers and milks anyways. The diapers and milk are not crucial to the business itself. Like the baby needs them regardless. So those are still personal use, diapers and milk. I have a hard time finding a way. But that said, I am not the best CPA in the world. Maybe the best CPA in the world would go to bat for you with the IRS, and maybe they would be very confident in claiming those as a deduction. I would not be, though. One word, remedial. Thinking like that makes you a moron. Dumbasses by the masses. This must have been when I was talking about like the average person and below the median. Half the people are dumber than the median. Blah blah blah. I still have, so before I went to the bathroom, I had 50 people watching. I still have 50 people watching. So I think a stream like this is immune to a 2-minute bathroom break. I recently found out TCG Player has a cap of $50 on fees plus transaction fee. Would this attract you to start selling more expensive sealed on TCG Player over eBay? I myself have started transitioning some. eBay has a cap of, is it $250? I believe eBay has a cap of $250. TCG Player relative to eBay is miserable. eBay is so much better in almost every way. TCG Player is better for like some niche things, but eBay is my guy. eBay is my place. You have said don't use a bad CPA, and to find a good one, what are some steps/questions to determine if a CPA is a good one or at least not a bad one? I have watched videos from actual CPAs on YouTube that have said, since, like, if it was pre-2018, if it's a 6-plus-year-old video, the Tax Cuts and Job Act had not yet come out. But I've seen videos that are 1 year old and less from CPAs that said that you cannot, as a reselling business, you have to maintain an inventory. They said that under no circumstance can you file as a cash basis filer. They are wrong. They are not aggressive enough in their tax interpretation. Shout out to Not Your Dad's CPA. He does not need a shout out. His channel is about 5 to 10 times larger than mine. Very, very great channel. I watch a ton of it. I've probably watched all of it. Please, like, if you need to know more about taxes, watch this video for sure in its entirety. Watch my tax advice video from last year. But skip some of my content. Skip some of James' content. Skip some of PokeRev's content. Go watch Not Your Dad's CPA. He will bring you so much more benefit if you actually pay attention, if you actually absorb what he's saying. So one, make sure that they are aware and understand and appreciate the fact that you can file cash basis if you want to, assuming you're doing the right things otherwise. And like Google reviews are a thing. Word of mouth to some extent. Somewhere, like everyone, friends, family, like your third cousin, you probably know a business owner within your sales tax, within your tax jurisdiction. Everyone probably knows a business owner. Like I have uncles, my dad is a business owner. I have multiple uncles and relatives that are business owners. Talk to them. Who do you use? Do you like them? What do they do for you? Like, how are they? Look at their Google reviews. Call and consult with them. Like most places, I remember doing a precursor. Do not call them on March 15th. Do not call them, on like March 10th. Do not call them on April 10th and expect to get a free conversation consultation. But sometime in like the summer, I called and I talked to them and I'm like, hey, this is what I do. Can I work with you guys? Can we work this out? And I had maybe a 15 to 20 minute phone conversation consultation for free to see if we were a good fit. And I asked them some questions and ask them good questions and make sure you get the right answers. See what questions they ask you. Make sure they ask you good questions and give them the right answers. So a lot of it is like, I know, and maybe I'll get this in tonight's stream too. I've talked about taxes and I've had some people in my chat, I've had some people in my comments saying like, oh, you're going to pay a CPA, but then you have to like check their work too. Like, what the hell is that all about? You're the only one who's going to look out for you 100% of the time, all the time. And as unfortunate as it is, it's just the fact you take your car to the mechanic. Some mechanics will charge you for filling your blinker fluid. And some people would just pay that. Some people would take their car to the quick lube and they'd get an oil change and a service and they'd pay $10 for their blinker fluid. That's not a thing. That's you need to just watch out for yourself. Some people out there are incompetent. Some people do not have their best interests in mind. Some people, I mean, I've heard stories of people paying for an oil change. They put a mark. They inscribed a mark on their oil filter, and it never got changed. Same one when they took it back home. I've heard all these horror stories. So to some extent, you need to watch out for yourself. It's just a fact of life. So yeah, those are some of my thoughts. Ideally, you know someone who might be working with someone that's good. Google reviews, things like that, and a consultation, one-to-one conversation with them and see how it goes. Eric says, hey Dan, I started reselling cards as a way to grow my personal collection, and it's starting to scale up. If I understood it right, I'd be able to grow my collection and acquire grails as inventory. Yeah, from day one. I mean, 2014 is when I started. I allocated $5,000 to the collection. Collection being long-term inventory. Everything I bought, I knew I would eventually sell at some point. If you buy items intended for resale, you do not pay sales tax on them. So yeah, that's kind of like the basis of what I do. Separate bank account, separate credit card. Be able to track it all, treat it all as a business. You're buying, you're intending to make money. Most times, like say you want, I don't have great stacks of cards in front of me, but there will be a lot of opportunities in Pokemon where say you want both of these cards. Like these are two pretty, not amazing cards, but say you want both of these cards. If you buy this on eBay, it might be $50. If you buy this on eBay, it might be $15. So $65 for the two. Instead of paying $65 for the two at buy it now, low list, you might be able to pay $30 on auction for both of them together. If I made an auction tomorrow for both of these cards, via just an auction ending next week, it might go for $30. You might only want this one. So you buy both for $30 and you sell this one, and now you're selling with intent for profit. You're intending to make money. This one goes into your long-term inventory, kind of in your collection, but like you're going to sell it someday. So yeah, there's a lot there. I think everything I've been saying tonight is kind of a basis for what answers this question. But absolutely. If it is intended for resale, you are not paying sales taxes. How are you keeping track of business miles? Estimating that you go to the post office X times a week, or actually counting every trip in some way? So when I used to work a 9 to 5, it was more complex. I had some amount was a commute, some amount was going to the grocery store, some amount was XYZ. Now it's easy. Now my wife has her job. I have my job. My job is self-employment. And one of our two vehicles, we have a 2-vehicle household. One is 100% personal. Every time we go anywhere personal, anytime my wife commutes, anytime anything, my wife takes that car. Anytime we take the business car, anytime the business car is used, it is business. So I look at the odometer. Very, very simple. If you can't just look at the odometer, if you have a vehicle that you use as a split, some amount personal, some amount business, there are apps. There are apps you can get on your smartphone where you click a button and it's like, start tracking my miles. It ties to Google Maps, it ties to whatever, and it counts your miles. There is also, pen and paper. You can literally have a pen and paper log. There is probably a reasonable argument that could be made. Like if you literally go every day, Monday through Friday to the post office, you could probably do 52 times 5. I take 260 trips to the post office every year, minus the holidays, minus blah, blah, blah. The IRS has certain requirements for records to be kept. I would just advise you to do some Googling on what records are required if the IRS were ever to audit you, and look into your mileage. But for me, it's easy. I have a 100% business vehicle and I have a 100% personal vehicle. So the odometer tracks all that. And I don't do simplified mileage. I do actual cost. I bought the vehicle through the business. I do the oil changes through the business. I buy the gas through the business. If a wheel bearing goes, I wheel bearing through the business. It's all business. What if you put a business codes and logos on your children's clothes for advertising while walking around conventions? Family business employee there. Talk to your accountant. A lot of tax code, a lot of these things, it's not black and white. There's a lot of gray area. Talk to your accountant, see what they're comfortable with. Like, don't just do this stuff randomly. Get it with support of your accountant. What are some write-offs specifically related to Pokemon card selling and reselling in general that most people might not think of? I mean, your computer, your printers, your cell phone that you use for business, your computer that you use for business, your car, your mileage, your business use of home, anything that is required, ordinary and necessary for your business. If you're buying like all my stream equipment, all my lights, all my stuff that is ordinary and necessary for a streamer. I mean, some amount of my income. I get a 1099 from YouTube. I get a 1099 from eBay for my affiliate link. My website fees. If you run an ad on Instagram, anything you do that goes towards earning that income is able to be written off. Loving the slurring from the beer, 10 out of 10. My speech is not amazing to begin with. I think some of it's beer and some of it's just me. Wouldn't it be pretty hard, if not impossible, for the IRS to get you for trades? I mean, I said earlier on a couple of statements about my thoughts on those things. Anything that's digital, anything that is like Veriswap posts and keeps a record of trades and things like that. So anything that's digital, anything that's out there, anything that you post on social media, there are records of that. That's all there. I'm not advocating for anything, but anything you do in person, anything that's undocumented, anything that's transacted in cash, they really have no realistic way of seeing that. But not technically, you're supposed to report all that. Dan, you're stealing my sleep from me. I'm a victim. The whole world is out to get you, and tonight that comes through me stealing your sleep. I think Dan mistook a joke as a serious. I answer all questions, even if some questions are memes, even if they're jokes. Like, sometimes I know they're memes, and I answer them as if they're real intentionally. Sometimes I don't know they're memes, and I answer them as if they're real. Like, I roll with it. A question comes up, I answer it. In order to get your gross amount from eBay, do you subtract sales tax? So do not go to your sales. I will talk about this in my video on Monday. Do not go to your sales report and just take that number from 2023 sales. The eBay, PayPal, Shopify, whatever, they will send a 1099 to the IRS with a certain number. Use the 1099 reconciliation form that eBay gives you and look at it. Look at it. Look at the eBay 1099 reconciliation form and see what's on it. And then make your adjustments from there and then do what you need to do. They often do not, since they are collecting and remitting, they should not be reporting sales taxes on there. They're not subtracting it because they're not putting it on there to begin with. So if a buyer is paying sales tax that eBay is collecting and remitting, that's not coming to you. That should not be going on your 1099. Verify. But if you sell a card for $1,000 and then a week later they return it, refund it, whatever, that stuff goes on your 1099. You need to subtract off refunds. You need to subtract off returns and things like that. So keep an eye on that. But start with a 1099 reconciliation form. Don't start with what your 90-day shows on here. Don't start with what your last year shows on your app or whatever. He always flips the meme questions to serious. If staying up and watching your stream until 1 a.m. causes me to miss work tomorrow, can I write off the missed day as an expense if I'm out of vacation/sick days since Pokemon work caused the miss? This is getting really deep. If you have an aggressive enough CPA, they might be able to do something for you there. Can I deduct on cash basis something I intend to resell later? Like deduct it for the current year, but I don't plan to actually sell it until a year or two. Yeah, cash basis filing, you write off stuff as you purchase it. Accrual basis inventory, you write it off as you sell it, the year you sell it. No 24-hour stream, for sure. This live stream got me wanting to dump some tea in a pour. This is all good, even if I'm a bit out of my depth. The kid as employee thing alone blows my mind. Heard you're drunk, can't wait to watch this. I'm buzzing solid, but definitely not drunk. Dan, what other YouTuber would you say give me the worst tax advice? Pokemon gave you good tax advice when he was talking about his cash basis filing video where he got kind of jumped on. There's a lot of TikToks though. There's a lot of TikToks. There's a lot of YouTube shorts. There's a lot of scary stuff that is wrong. You cannot just pay, like, a lot of things. People will just say, like, write off, buy a snowmobile and write it off. Pay your kids 20 grand a year and write it off. Like, they need to earn 20 grand a year for you to pay them and to write it off. So a lot of the TikTok, a lot of the YouTube shorts, a lot of that tax advice has some kind of a glimmer of a basis in reality, but then they take it like way too far beyond what you can actually do. But as far as I don't watch any YouTuber that gives terrible tax advice. I just don't consume any of that content. Most people stay far away from it, not tax advice, not the financial advice. Generally, that's what I do. But occasionally I have some IPAs and I give tax advice. Yeah, so from what I understand with Roth 401ks, you can withdraw your own contributions from the account penalty-free, which you can't do with a traditional. Correct. At any time, you can withdraw your basis. You can withdraw the principal, but not the gains. He's getting there pretty drunk. He started to lay into the dummies. Even let Z have it for a minute. It's great. I promise you I'm not drunk. Buzzed for sure. See, class at 12, you can withdraw from a Roth IRA. So I have 0 Roth 401k. Definitely Roth IRA though. There are certain exemptions. There are certain reasons where you can even withdraw some of the, like say between 6 years old and 18 years old, 12 years, I'm going to pay my son, pay my daughter into a Roth IRA. And say when they turn 18, they want to go to college. There are exemptions, there are exclusions, there are reasons, there are times in life where you can withdraw money, not even just the principal, but the gains. You can withdraw the gains penalty free for some percentage, some amount, I don't know what the numbers are, for education and for your first home buy. Maybe 20 years from now, by the time that's relevant to my kids, it could change. Like, that's one reason that I recommend having a CPA. These things change every year. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2019, that opened up the doors for cash basis filing for businesses like ours. So it's always changing. Let's see. Yeah, 401ks are different from IRAs. Roth is different from traditional, and so we've got an argument in here about the about withdrawing the basis, the principal within your Roth account. Any early withdrawals you take are prorated between after-tax contributions and taxable gains. If your account has a value of $10,000 to $9,400, $9,400 from contributions and $600 from investment gains, and you take $5,000 unqualified withdrawal. Oh, so some amount will be, so you can't just take contributions. You have to take proportionally some amount of gains. See, that's more than I've gotten. That's more in depth than I've gotten, because I don't intend on taking money out of Roth IRAs or 401ks anytime soon. I have 0 Roth 401k. I have some Roth IRA. This is a key distinction between a Roth 401k versus a Roth IRA. With a Roth IRA, you can access your contributions at any time. And that's the thing. If you work for an employer and then cease employment, whether you get laid off, whether you quit on your own, like I did, then I took my traditional 401k and rolled it into a traditional IRA. Had I had, as I should have, optimally, had I had some Roth 401k at my former company, I could have rolled that into a Roth IRA, and then the rules change entirely because now it's an IRA and not a 401k. Yeah, maybe you can roll a Roth 401k into a Roth IRA to take advantage of it. As like where I worked in the state that I'm in, maybe certain states, maybe certain employers are different, but you could not do an in-service rollover. So while I was working for my company, I could not do an in-service rollover to an IRA. I could only do a rollover to an IRA after I separated from service. My IRA with Vanguard is significantly lower fees, lower cost, better selection of investment opportunities than my former 401k had. So the IRAs generally give you a lot more freedom at a lower cost if you're choosing a good IRA provider. Schwab, Fidelity, Vanguard, a lot of good options out there. But yeah, my IRA through Vanguard has significantly better selection and significantly lower fees than my former 401k had. How's it going, Mason? Nice to see you here. PokeMT, this is indeed still going. I'm wow. The last there's 50. This says there's 50 people watching. Are there actually 50 people watching? I don't know if I believe that. Probably 40 people fell asleep, and 16 poor souls are still watching. But if you have any questions, I am at the bottom of chat. I have one more or two more questions in front of me. But I'm at the bottom of the chat. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask them. I will have a video following up on all this on Monday, talking about S Corp versus sole proprietor, LLC. I will show you how to pull the reports from eBay. I will show you how to pull the reports from your credit card, from your bank account, which ideally are separate from everything else. But yeah, I probably will be wrapping relatively soon because I am pretty close to the bottom. World Class Collectibles says, what is the lowest eBay fees? I saw something about 10% or a 10% discount for certain top-rated sellers. So if you are a top-rated seller and you have 1 day handling time, in our category, you don't need to have the free returns. But in most categories, you have to have free 30-day returns where you pay return shipping as the seller. You can get a 10% discount on selling fees. That's not 10% like gross. That's 10% of the 12%. So instead of having a 12% final value fee, you'll have a 10.8% final value fee. So that is a thing that exists. If you're selling through the eBay Vault, 0% selling fees for anybody in the US that enrolls in the eBay Vault. That is a great option there. So the lowest, to answer your question as succinctly as possible, the lowest eBay fees you can get, 0% selling through the eBay Vault. Greater than 250 single graded cards. But as far as talking about the 10% discount you're talking about for top rated sellers, that changes your rate. If you have a store, if you don't have a store, it's 13% in trading cards. If you have a store, it's 12%. If you're a top rated seller with a store, it's 10.8% because it's 12% minus the 10%. So I don't see any new questions coming in. I am, my chat is lagging, must be, because I just saw a bunch jump all at once. I am convinced that 40 people are sleeping and 16 people are here. But I will continue on. Can we transition into IRAs and 5 fast shots of tequila? I don't really do shots. I will do IPAs all day, all night long. I don't do shots though. I guess he didn't think my joke. It feels like you missed some words here. I don't know if I guess he didn't think my joke was funny. I don't know what your joke was. Did I miss it? Zard lurking. Let me see. Oh, this one? What other YouTuber would you say would give me the worst tax advice? That one, I guess, maybe? I don't know. People are definitely sleeping. Zach's still awake, though. Nice to see you, Zach. Thanks for being here. Yeah, so if you eventually do the Roth 401k to IRA, you could take your contributions out to take advantage of the employer match, but take out the contributions without penalty for... So you were saying... So if you have a Roth 401k, and I am not advocating for this. If you have a Roth IRA, you can take the basis out at any time for any reason without penalty. You've already paid the taxes on it. So you can take the basis out without penalty for any reason. If you are buying your first home, if you are paying for higher education, there are certain circumstances where you might even be able to take out some of the gains without penalty. But yeah, those are specific circumstances. And I would not advocate for that anyways. Roth IRA, Roth 401k money, there's only so much you can put in every year. And that's for a reason, because it's a very powerful tool. I would not advise people take money out of a tax advantaged account to speculate, invest, flip in Pokemon. I would advise that people like take their W-2 income that they're paying taxes on anyways and do it with that. If your Pokemon job causes a lot of stress, which makes you sweat profusely, and you take a shower during business hours, can you write off shampoo and soap that you spend? See, I would classify those. I'm not an accountant, but if I were and I had someone come to me with that, I would say everyone has to shower, so no. And I would say most of your fellow Poke businesses do not sweat that much, do not get that nervous. That is not an ordinary expense that you are having to shower extra in this business. So I would say no. Maybe there's an accountant out there that would be aggressive enough to say yes and allow you to write that off. Should I contribute early to my 401k/Roth IRA early in the year or periodically through the year? So if you have the money, and this is something that I did for the first time ever this year, historically speaking, past performance is not an indicator of future results. Historically speaking, there are a lot of studies out there on lump sum on January 1st versus periodic contributions throughout the year. And lump sum on January 1st beats periodic contributions because most years the market is up. Historically speaking, the market is up. We are today at all-time highs in the market. So time in the market beats timing the market is a very common saying that most people have probably heard. So there are going to be certain years. If you put all your money in on January 1st, there are certain years where the market will be lower on December 31st than it was on January 1st. In that year, you would have performed worse than if you had just put money in each month, each paycheck, each pay period, whatever. But historically, most years are up. Historically, on average, you win by putting it in as early as possible. So what I did this year, I was very liquid. I had all the capital. I maxed out my entire 401k, my entire IRA, everything in January. So far, it's gone very well, right? Like the markets are doing very well. The S&P 500 up 10% or whatever. So the math is on your side, doing it as early as possible, lump sum. But there will be years where you do suboptimal. There will be years where you do better. And overall, on average, historically, you would have done better. Will that be the case over the next 50 years? We'll see. But that's all the information we have on that. At what age is reasonable to start paying my kid a wage for helping with work? And would that help with tax at all? Yeah, so Scott, I don't know if you were here earlier. My son is 6 this year. My son is going on payroll this year. My son materially participates in the business. It will be advantageous. Yes, always. If you are a sole proprietor, if you are an S corporation, you are paying FICA taxes. You are paying at your marginal rate, whatever your marginal rate is, you are paying some amount of taxes. Unless you make less than like married filing jointly, unless you make like very little money, if you're paying zero taxes yourself, 40% of US households pay zero taxes. So if you're in those 40% of houses that pay zero taxes effectively, it won't benefit you. But if you're paying taxes, it will benefit you because your rate includes FICA taxes, Social Security, Medicare, and your marginal rate. Your child has their personal exemption, their standard deduction. They can make up to like 10 grand a year, a little over 10 grand a year, paying 0% taxes. And that's federal. Every state's a little bit different. I don't know how New York State works exactly. I don't know if they'll pay a little bit of New York State. Plus, you have a little bit of money. I'll be paying my accountant maybe an extra 10, 20 bucks a month to do my child's payroll. When my children both enter on the payroll, I'll be paying a few $100 a year to do their payroll, but they'll be saving effectively as a household. We'll be saving thousands of dollars a year in taxes on that payroll. What are some of the dumb tax strategies you see people use, like red flags and no-nos, etc.? I mean, the most common one in Pokemon is like, oh, well, PayPal didn't 1099 me, Venmo didn't 1099 me. A lot of people will just not claim money that they got as proceeds of sales because it didn't show up anywhere. And then they'll put it in their business bank account. They'll put it somewhere. So like electronically, digitally, it's visible, it's there, and they're not claiming it whatsoever. That is illegal. That is dumb. That is not a tax strategy. That is just flat tax evasion. And tax evasion is rampant in this space. So big red flag, big no-no. Do not evade taxes. That is, it's not up to me. Certain consigners, like I do not 1099 people. PWCC does not 1099 people. Heritage, Golden, any of these companies, they do not issue 1099s. But you still have to claim that income. So, number one piece of tax advice, pay your taxes. Limit your taxes as much as you can legally. You can probably get your taxes really, really low, close to zero, legally. Avoid, don't evade. That's my main thing. Dan, can you just do my taxes, please? Did you make decent money on selling that auto Venusaur? That must be towards Thrifty, I think. I don't know. Or no, I just sold recently an auto Venusaur that was not, Thrifty has one, but I sold someone else's. That was a consignment. So I made 1 to 4%. I think I made 4% because I was under $5,000. Got you on in the background, definitely not asleep. If you signed with a Pokemon sketch, which people would it be besides Squirtle or Quaxley? I need to get my promo signed for my community binder. I've done a couple Charmander sketches. I've never done a Quaxley sketch. I mean, my Charmander sketches are terrible, but let's see. If I pay you for a one-on-one consultation about my business, would that be a business expense? Yes, absolutely. It would be under legal and professional services. It would be defined as, so on your Schedule C, your Form 1040 Schedule C, go to Part 2 expenses, it would go under 17, legal and professional services, if you're consulting for your business. I mean, in terms of your own contributions to a Roth 401k/IRA, there really isn't any point to waiting to withdraw for now versus 60 or whatever. It'll still be tax and penalty free. Yeah, you're wrong though. This is very wrong, Pooping Turtle 69. Never thought I'd be correcting Pooping Turtle 69 at 1:30 in the morning on taxes. So you're right in part of it. You're right in part of it in that you could take it out tax and penalty free today. I guess on the presumption that you're spending it today, but the big thing you're losing is I'm 30, what am I? I'm 33. I'm 34 later this year. So I have another 30 plus years of tax sheltered growth. So say my car breaks, I need a new muffler, I need a new exhaust for my car, and I don't have the money. I have the money nowhere else. I would tell the person, don't take it out of your Roth IRA. Find a way, loan that money, make that money somewhere else, put it on a credit card. Very rarely would I say that, but I would rather pay 20% interest on a credit card to pay that $1,000 exhaust bill, because that $1,000 staying in my Roth IRA, I get 30 more years of compound growth. Past performance, future, blah, blah, blah. Historically speaking, very conservatively, 7%. 7% per year in the markets, that doubles every 10 years. So on a 30-year time frame, you double 3 times. Anyone who's good at math, 2 to the 3, 2 times 2 times 2, your $1,000 in a Roth IRA could/should be $8,000 at retirement. If I take that money out and I buy exhaust with it, it's done, it's gone, whatever. If I keep it there, I grow my $1,000 to $8,000 and I owe no gains on it. If I take that $1,000 out and put it in a brokerage account, I owe taxes on all the gains. If I take it out and I buy an exhaust, I mean, I could have bought the exhaust on credit card. I could have made it work somehow. I mean, ideally, you just spend less than you make, you live below your means, and you, I made a financial advice video about a year ago, too. I'm going to have to update about keeping up with the Joneses and living below your means, and all that applies, too. So I took a trip to Japan with my wife. I bought some inventory to sell. How much of that trip can I expense for inventory? I bought for $200, and let's say I resell for $800. You need to define somehow what percent of your trip was business and what percent was personal. I cannot do that. I don't know. One, I don't know what the trip costs in total. If the trip was $10,000 and you're trying to write off $10,000 over having made $600, $200 buy with an $800 sell, you would probably have a tough time, especially if it was a 2-week long trip and you went to here and there and you went to a million places and you spent 5 minutes in one card shop one given day. That's comes down to a conversation with a CPA and breaking down what percent of that was personal. Because same thing with a cell phone. Like if you have a cell phone, which you do eBay, which you do whatever on, it's just percentage based. If certain people, they might use their phone for 95% business, 95% business, 5% personal. Certain people might only own a phone. If it wasn't for their business, they wouldn't even own a phone. And their only things are business emails and business eBay messages, whatever. So yeah, there are people like there are people who could spend $5,000 going to Japan with intent for it to be a 100% business trip. They could do business the whole time they're there, and they might only be able to profit $1,000 off what they sourced. They lost money, but that was a 100% business trip still. And then vice versa, there might be people that spend $10,000 and they only make $600, and by design, only 1%, 5% of it was business. So that all comes down to defining what exactly you did and what your intentions were and all that. I am getting close to winding down. I again have reached the bottom of chat. If anyone has any question, somehow my chat is showing like there hasn't been a message in 9 minutes. That feels crazy, but maybe. I sold a Venusaur Sig for like $15.50, I believe. That was one that I had listed cheaper through another person. I forget what your grade was, Thrifty, and what the status of that was. But if you want to lower it, let me know. We can lower it. We can send out offers. We can try to get that to move. I can message that buyer and see if they want another one. But I forget the details on the one that I sold versus the one you had. Love the content. First time live, but watch all your videos. Also purchased Mysterious Pearl and Team Rocket packs from you before. I definitely recognize the name TCG Collector. Fairly broad, fairly vague, fairly probably a lot of overlap between other people's names. But yeah, I'm probably gonna call it here. I'm gonna have a video Monday. I want to go so much deeper. Like there are so many questions that were not asked. I have tabs open. I have spreadsheets open that I did not get into tonight that I wanted to. But I have to save some stuff for Monday. I have a video I'm going to be recording probably Saturday night on all kinds of tax stuff. It's going to be talking about why I'm an S corporation. It's going to show you on eBay how I pull the reports that I pull. And we're getting really close to 3 hours. So we're going to call it at 3 hours. I very much appreciate everyone being here for the heavily buzzed Dan Rants, Dan conversations here. I hope some people got some benefit here. I hope people found things that were entertaining and interesting. But yeah, I see you, Nest TCG. Definitely gonna go to sleep. I have to register my daughter for pre-K tomorrow, so I gotta make sure that alarm gets me on to register her. And yeah, I had a lot of fun. Wish I got to the stream earlier. Gonna have a blast. We're all listening. Thanks for the information. Yeah, I appreciate everyone being here. I will have a tax video on Monday. Definitely Monday will be taxes. The following Monday will also definitely be taxes. And I might be able to get it done in 2 parts. We'll see though. In terms of tax-free growth on your contributions, let's say in 35 years, it would be 16 times. If you're using it to fund a business now, you need like 20 times the match rate divided by your effective tax rate. Yeah, you'd have to, it all, in some of this is finance channel Dan, some of this is business channel Dan. We'll see what I get into on Monday and the following Monday, but minimum 2 tax videos coming your way. As always, if you have questions, comments, leave them in the comments. If you have video ideas, leave them in the comments. I had some great back and forth with people from my video on Monday. Yeah, that is everything for tonight.